Okay, welcome back, everybody. We know it's been a while since the last episode. It's just that it was a really busy semester so far until a little pandemic recently hit, and now it's freed up a lot of time for us to get back to working on this.
Yes, we're talking over Skype right now because everybody's quarantined at the moment, Harry and I. But you know what? We have a few episodes saved up that we haven't been able to fully edit, but finally we had time, and it's a really interesting episode, especially considering the state that the world is in right now, because it's the gap year episode. But you know what? We recorded this interview a few months ago, back in January, a while after Kaylee and Emmy had gotten back from their trip in Europe. And, maybe this is something people would like to hear right now, because we're all stuck inside the house. So it might be fun to hear some tales of people outdoors and people exploring the world, it might be a fun thing. So, this is Kaylee and Emmy and their journey through Europe. I think this is a really good episode. What do you think, Harry?
Yeah, I do as well. I think it's definitely our best episode that we've ever recorded. The stories are really good. There's ups, there's downs, there's emotional highs, there's emotional lows, there's scary moments. I mean, it runs the full gambit. It's definitely a lot longer than our other episodes, but due to everybody being quarantined right now, you should have definitely enough time to listen to it. So we hope you enjoy.
Yes, all right.
Learn how them schools be with Universi-Tea. Tea time with Kevin and Harry.
Okay, and now our first two guests on a special episode of Universi-Tea. Do you guys want to give us a little introduction before you?
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kaylee.
I'm Emmy.
Oh, I was talking about an ASMR introduction.
Oh, yeah. Hi. I'm Kaylee. Welcome to our episode of Universi-Tea. Now, Emmy's going to sip tea into the mic while I explain my favorite hobbies. I like winter kayaking. I like skiing, but on water skiing. Can you keep sipping? And I also like making muffins at night, naked, and watching true crime documentaries.
Yeah, and that's something you can't get at just any university. So, there's obviously something different going on here. And this episode, we'll be covering the great journeys that Kaylee and Emmy had overseas, right?
Yeah, on our gap
Right,
year.
yeah.
So, I'm kind of curious, what, if some, high schoolers happen to be listening, I don't know who's listening, but if they are, and they're wondering, what they want to do after, they're not sure if they want to go to college or do a gap year like you guys did. First of all, what gave you the idea to do a gap year?
For me, it was I was just really tired of being in school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've been in school basically our entire lives. I didn't feel prepared, nor did I just want to even go to school anymore. So personally, I just decided to take a gap year just because I didn't want to go to school and I wanted to do something else. I didn't know what I wanted to study or anything like that. So, I just needed a break, and it's done wonders. Now I'm ready to go to school. I feel just so much more mature than I did a year ago.
More time to think about what you want to go into as well,
Exactly.
probably.
Yeah.
How about you, Kaylee?
Yeah, you will. I mean, you go through 12 years of schooling, and it's so much. And then you get out, and you're supposed to go into college. But if you're going to college, you're paying all this money. You want to know what you want to study, or at least have some kind of idea. But if you don't, or even just if you do, but you just need a break, that's why I took it, is because I didn't know what I wanted to study. But the biggest thing is that I felt very immature. I felt like I wasn't ready to be independent and on my own. And in everywhere, well, when we were in Europe, we were talking to all these people, and in the UK and stuff, it's super common to take a gap year. That's what you do. Sometimes it's even in the middle of high school, there's a year where you just travel before you go on, but it's not very common in the US, but it should be.
Yeah.
Because it's great.
healthier.
It's healthy, yeah. It's just like a mental. Plus, you're going to be working most likely for the rest of your life. You're probably not going to have, another chance to take a gap year.
Yeah.
Until you retire.
A lot of like adults that I've talked to about it, they always say they're like, "Oh man, like I wish I would have done that," or "I wish."
Every
heard a lot of
adult,
that,
literally
yeah.
every adult, yeah.
Yeah. So how about we start by getting a quick rundown, a list of every country you visited, and then we'll tackle each story, the best stories from each
Okay.
area.
Okay,
that's good.
So we landed in Dublin, Ireland, and were there
Yes.
for a while.
Yes.
And then we flew to a small town in southwest France. And I'm gonna butcher the name of it, but it was like the funny thing is the name was Brosack.
Yes.
And we were there, and then while we were there, we traveled a bit to other places, and then after that, we went into North Italy, in Mantua, and then we were in Florence, Italy, and then Rome for a few days, Athens, Greece for a few days, and then up to Edinburgh, Scotland, and then back to Dublin, and then flew out.
Oh, we
Wow.
also, while we were in France, we went to London.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we
Cool.
went
Awesome.
to, a couple
Okay,
places. Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the greats of Dublin.
Okay.
I think like just to start off, like it was the first place we went in Europe,
Yeah.
and it was like we have family friends there, and so they took us in and were just just so beyond kind to us, and
Yeah.
So
they
nice.
really like they
That's
housed
so
us
nice,
like we
yeah.
came in at like 5 a.m. and we hadn't slept for like close to 20 hours at this
Yeah.
point, and they had a bed ready for us, and they were just wonderful, and they made sure we were safe. They told us what bus to get on. They told
Awesome.
us to call them if there was a problem.
Okay.
But it was the first place where we really got to like be on our own and just like walk around the city,
Mhm.
and so it has like a special place.
Yeah, I think not only it being the first place, but also I just really liked like the feel of Ireland. Like every country you go to, it just has, as soon as you enter, it just has
yeah.
like a feel,
vibe.
yeah.
Mhm.
And everyone was just very nice. And even in we stayed out in their small town outside of Dublin first,
Yeah.
and even that was fun because it was like, I don't know, you just got like the real Ireland.
Yeah.
He took us to like his local pub, and we were there for like a
You guys
quiz
are like-
A quiz night,
So
yeah.
It's called a pub.
Exactly.
We were like, oh,
We're like Ireland, yeah.
we're gonna have a pint of Guinness.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Do they go hard in pubs?
They
They're
do
there,
a
like,
lot of,
every night.
Yeah, they do a lot of just casual drinking, but it's like very long-term casual drinking.
And that was nice just because you got like what actual like Ireland is like, which was good.
Not just like city.
Not just the city, yeah, because the city
Yeah.
is full of tourists and all this.
It was like the
stuff, yeah.
classic Ireland experience.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's like driving into their town. You sit there and you think you're like, yeah, this is an Irish small town. This is exactly what I would picture it to
Yeah.
look like.
It was.
Yeah.
Was it pretty?
Yeah, I mean the whole
Yeah.
what is it called, like the Emerald Island or something?
Yeah, it's like the shades of
gorgeous.
green. I mean, it's so pretty.
Yeah.
It's
Awesome.
so pretty. Yeah.
So did you do anything else in Dublin other than like go to the pub, or was that like the highlight?
We went to a couple museums.
Yeah.
like,
Not that the pub is a bad
We
thing.
went to
we went to a Viking museum.
Yeah, we went to medieval Viking museum, which was fun.
How's that?
That was good.
Yeah.
I bet they had a lot of whack.
We got to dress up in there in like the
Yeah.
Viking costumes and stuff.
Yeah,
Plus,
and
it was like
lot
a
of,
Awesome.
interactive stuff.
yeah.
So this is the first location. Obviously, you're having a good time. Like, you got a very nice family that takes you in. You're like, oh great, they take you to the pub. Woo, good time. So what just like went wrong? There's gotta be something that just went badly.
So the pub crawl. Okay,
Yeah, the
so
pub
we went on this pub crawl, and it was really fun. The beginning of it, we had a great pub crawl leader. That's like the person who takes you around. He was really nice, and we were talking to him and stuff. And he took us to all these local pubs and stuff. But the pub crawl ends at this pub. I mean, at this club. And
Pub club.
yeah, but same thing. And it's at this club, and this was the first time we'd been to a club in Europe,
Okay,
or
yeah.
ever really.
Yeah.
Because so we didn't really know what to expect. So we went to the club. We started like dancing, and
Do they dance different?
no, they.
I mean, like,
Well-
I feel like if you've ever been to a club, like, you'd understand. It's just like it's such like a weird it's such a different vibe than anything I've ever experienced.
And some clubs are like, some clubs you go in and everyone's having a good time and stuff and it's really fun. And but most of the time it's like there's a vibe in there and like the vibe is sex. Like that's what it is. Like it's just a lot of men. It's just a lot of men.
And that's it. That's why it's about sex. No.
So we're in this club, and oh my God, I'm gonna keep saying it. I know. So we're in this club, and we start dancing, and we're having a good time, and the club's pretty empty. Mm-hmm. Then around like 1 a.m. or something, this string of like already like shit-faced young Irish men come in to the club, and I don't know how old they were, but they looked like at most like 19 maybe, like our
Very
age,
young.
super young. They looked so small, and they were so drunk, and they kept coming up to our like group of people, and kept trying to like dance, like grind on, like that's like the biggest thing is like trying to grind on people.
So it's like a middle school dance in this Irish.
Oh my God.
Yes, literally, that's what it is. And so everyone keeps coming up, and we're trying to like push them away, but they're super like, I mean, with
pushy.
clubs, they're super pushy. Like it's you can't like it's different wherever you go. Like for example, in London, you have to like shout at them and like be like get physical and stuff, but in Italy you can't do that. In Italy you just have to ignore them because any attention is good attention in their opinion. So you could be like fuck and they'll like come back around. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, they think that like in Italy it's like they think that if you're like no, it means like oh okay.
Yeah. They're like oh you're fiery. Yeah, it's really funny. Anyways, so these people, a couple honorable mentions. There was this guy who came over to me, and he'd already gone to every other girl and they'd already rejected him, and he came to me. And I was like, oh, yeah, we can dance, like, if you want to dance, like, front to front. Right. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm trying to, like, dance. You know? And so he was like, he just looked at me and he just, I couldn't understand anything he was saying. He just kept holding up, like, fingers. And he was like, 2, 3. And I was like, oh, yeah, man, yeah, right?
I know those numbers, too.
Right?
He's talking to the stock market, too.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, exactly.
And sure he wasn't speaking sign language or something?
Bro, maybe. I have literally no idea. Because not only is his accent so heavy, like insanely heavy, but he's also so drunk, I just can't understand. So he's like in my ear trying to like say something to me. Yeah. And I can't understand it, and he's just spitting like all down my neck. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm like,
I don't need that. I don't need that spit anymore. Yeah.
And so finally he goes away. And then this other guy, this is a new move, and I've never seen this move before, but it's very popular. It's basically you're trying to get a girl to grind on you. So what you do is you are like playful, and you go in front of them, and you pretend like you're like grinding on them. So like guys will like come up to you and like grind on you, and then they'll be like, aha, then they'll try to switch it around. And so this guy literally tried to pick me up and put me on his penis. And I was like, nah, man, I'm good. I was like, not today. I have like he's like holding, and I'm like, I had to like hit him. You had to come over and like
a lot of the time, like.
He tried hitting you with the reverse Uno card.
I know, so I was like, nah, man, I can grind.
In a lot of clubs, there's kind of, especially, mostly with women, I don't think I've ever seen it with men, but, like, you kind of just immediately have this attitude of, like, okay, I'm going to make eye contact with basically every single girl that's in here, and if she has, like, any of the slightest,
if she looks back at me,
like, any sort of, like, I don't want to be in the situation, you kind of, like, make eyes, and there's a couple, like, you know, like yes, like, no.
Oh, my goodness.
And if they, like, shake their head, like, immediately, like, if you don't even know this girl, like, you go and you save her.
Yeah.
It's like involvement fest.
Yeah.
It's like you make eye contact, they're like, hey, oh, god damn it, no.
Yeah.
Where can I put my eyes?
It's like, you like snake your arm around her and like scoop her into your groove.
Yeah. Goodness. Sometimes you just have to. We got into our fair share of like fights. Sometimes you have to like you just have to be like leave, like go away. She's like with us. Yeah. We're dancing. Hell? Which on another note is like very hard in clubs to find out if people are gay or not, because like a lot of girls will come up and like be dancing with me, and I'm like, is this a homo or is this like a, you know what I mean?
Trying to like avoid.
Are you trying to exactly? So it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
And then she starts grinding on you, and you're like, whoa.
Yes, exactly. And I'm like, wait, is this like a you're drunk? Because a lot of girls, you know, they want to act gay, but they're not trying to be gay. You know what I mean?
Very true.
So, anyways.
Kaylee 2020.
Give it on a t-shirt.
All right, wow. So that sounds like a very interesting Ireland experience. So like, was this near the end of the Ireland part of your trip?
The first part, yeah, that was near the end.
Okay, so were y'all like kind of done with Ireland at that point? Were you like, let's move on to the next?
I think we were ready.
Yeah.
Certain things pushed us to leave.
Yeah, we were ready to go.
Yeah.
You got male grinded out of Ireland.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the men in
Pelvic
Ireland
thrusting.
all the men in Ireland, we were just like, we should probably see what's in France.
But didn't you tell me that like you thought that the Irish culture was like less like into sex or something?
Are we gonna get into this? Okay, we're gonna get into this.
I just want to know about that.
Well, listen, I'm not trying to trash anyone on the podcast. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But from people that I know there, I've heard some things.
Yeah.
Basically, just the fact that Ireland is so small and it's such like it's an island. You know,
Yeah.
it's so small, and everyone who grows up there like has that culture, like everything. And they're also like it's a very religious place, so there's not a lot of sex education. So sex is very like
Taboo.
yes, it's not really like. So our friend told us basically he was talking about how like people don't really hook up in Ireland. Like there's no like hookup culture. It's like you date people, like that's it. You date people and like most of the time you don't even like have sex like right away. Like maybe it changes like a little bit in the cities and stuff, but he was just talking about how like hooking up is maybe like you go to the pub, you get drunk, and then you like make out a little bit. And like that's it. That's all you do. Which so I was like, this can't be true, right? They're just like
It's like another country. Like,
yeah,
there's no way
like,
this entire country is not horny like America.
right.
Like,
But then we started, talking to people around the country about it, and we started like we went to this comedy club on one of the nights, and the guy was talking about how he was like, oh, is any Americans here? And we were like, oh yeah. He's like, oh, you Americans, you guys are so good at like dating and sex and stuff, but we're not. He's like, we're still on like 3-play. We don't even know what 4-play is. He's like, we don't, when we date people, we like to test drive the car for like so many days before we actually come in and stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe this is like
real.
Maybe this is real. Maybe this is true.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes sense because here we're so exposed, like all over America. You have so many opportunities to like go out and meet new people. But in Ireland, it's just not the case. Imagine you grow up with your friends, you have your group of friends, and then you go to college in that same town.
Yeah.
And like with the same people, and then you like. You die.
So it's also weird if everybody knows each other.
Yes, everybody knows. And so that's what he's saying. Like our friend was saying, like he like dating within the group is just weird because you probably dated like 6 different people or something. Like he says, and everyone knows about everything, and so
I think that was also really weird. Like just listening into like our friends, like it was her and her mom like talking, and they're just like talking about the people in the town, and like I don't even know my neighbors.
Yeah.
Like, I know probably one neighbor.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, like, Sarah got married. And they're like, oh, my God, Sarah got married.
What?
And she lives, like, 3 towns over.
Yeah. It's kind of like small town America, but it's just to an unbelievable extent.
Yeah.
And even if, and halfway across the country, cross country, is 3 hours. So even if you move over there, you see each other. I mean, it's just
that's
crazy.
That's literally, and it's weird because you're right. I mean, that makes sense why it's less common then, because it's like, if it's like everybody got with the whole team.
Exactly. And I guess it's just people. Yeah, so people just don't have like sex as much there, or it's just not really a thing. Like I don't know. It's weird.
Then I'm so intrigued as to why they're so crazy in the pubs, like dancing. Maybe it's because they are still very horny, or they just aren't gonna go that far. Like,
funny when we came back to our friend's house after being at the club the night before we went to the airport. He was like, wait, what club did you go to? And we were like, oh, Coppers or something? And he just laughs. And he's like, Mom, they went to Coppers. And we were like, is that bad? And he was like, that's where all the hillbilly, like, Irish people go in. Because they go into, like, Dublin at night to meet, like, the tourists and stuff. To meet new people to try to, like, hook up with them.
Because they're like, nobody in Ireland will do it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so that's what we got from Ireland. We could be wrong, though.
Of course, yeah, you only
it's
saw
just
so
a couple
much,
people's
right, yeah.
opinions, but
But that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had your experience in Ireland. You
Yeah.
learned maybe they're not too crazy, but they're also very crazy in their own way, as you know everyone is, which is not a bad
in their
thing.
own way, yeah.
And then you moved on to France, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
we moved into France. And that was our first, like, real hiccup, I guess.
Yeah.
Hiccup.
Because we just, probably one of the stupidest things, like, we've ever done, just, like, bare, just stupidity. Basically, we were supposed to catch a train, like, we flew into Bordeaux, France, and then we were supposed to catch a train at the train, like, we flew in, took a shuttle to the train station, and then at the train station, had to catch a train to this small town.
Yeah.
And the train stations are, like, really easy to figure out, very easy, and so it said it was, like, platform 7, right? And so we're like, okay, we go wait on platform 7, and it's huge, and we're sitting there, there's no train, but, like, 100 yards, there's a train sitting there, but we're like, nah, this literally took us here, like, no way, it's that.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and, like, our time for our train departing is, like, showing up, and we're like, what is going on? And so then, like, I'm like, Kaylee, go over there and check the train. She's like, okay. She gets up and walks over there. She's like, I don't think it's a train. It might be. Like, let's go. And so we walk. She's walking back so we can grab our luggage.
Yeah.
And as we're grabbing our luggage, the train pulls away and it starts pulling towards us. And as it gets closer, we see it that it's our train.
Slow motion.
Yeah. and we're like, oh my god, like, should we, like, wave them? Like, oh my god.
You waved the train
Like,
down.
we were gonna, and then we literally just, like, sat there and just watched it go by, and we were just like, okay. Like,
Damn,
let's
that's like
figure out
some
what to do.
Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, it was just so,
the boss!
it was kind of embarrassing. We eventually caught the next train and, like, had to buy another ticket.
Okay, so you got there.
Yeah, we
We
got
got
there
there.
eventually.
But it was
And then we met Paul, and so Paul was
Who's Paul?
He was basically the guy that owned the villa and owned
Okay.
and ran the volunteer program.
Gotcha.
He was an extremely British guy living in France, so he was English. We could talk to him, but boy, was he a character. Racist,
like kind of racist, kind of sexist, but like not
like full. Not he wouldn't be like, oh, women are, like, stupid. But he would, like, look me in the eyes and be like, do you know what a wrench is?
Oh my
And I'd be
goodness.
like, yeah. He'd be like,
funny.
it looks like this. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Yeah. And he was also a huge cheapskate.
yes, yeah.
Like,
Is-
huge.
We were supposed to fix a fence, and he just needed a new fence,
You need
and
new
he did
wood.
not want to pay for it. He was like, let's just fill all the dead wood with filler. And I was like, it's whole pieces. I mean, there are whole pieces in this fence. So, but whatever. So we just pretended to fix the fence. And that way we just didn't.
Was he happy with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't expect anything to get done more women. You know what I mean? He didn't expect it to happen.
In that case, you're like, ooh, sorry. We
I know, we're
tried
like,
our
oh,
best.
we tried. 3 weeks wasn't enough to fix one fence. Like,
I tried. I broke a couple of fingernails while I was so.
This wrench is confusing.
Is it right or left? Pick you up and stuff like that. And while we were there, we stayed with 3 other people, and it was Nancy Jane, and she was from Oregon in the United States.
Yeah.
Vladimir, who was an Erasmus student from Russia, and then Chris was an Erasmus student from Spain.
These are your roommates.
Like, housemates, I
Yeah.
guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have your own rooms?
Yeah, we had, like, our own little apartment. It was, like, Kaylee and I in 2 separate rooms, and we had, like, a bathroom.
Okay, cool.
which was nice.
So pretty nice setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your first what was your experience when you explored France? What'd you do?
I remember probably one of the coolest feelings I ever had was, like, one of the first days we were there, it was in the middle of the French countryside.
Mm-hmm.
So we would, like, get on our bikes, and Kaylee would play, like, French music from the speaker.
And by French
we're
music,
just, like,
it's Ratatouille. Like the Ratatouille soundtrack.
and we were just, like, biking down, like, the French countryside, and it's just, you feel like you're in a movie, basically.
Yeah,
Like,
it
the
looks that good.
sunset's happening, and you're just like, Wow.
It was
like
insane.
dreamy.
I think like one of the worst days we had in France though. I mean, France in general was really nice. It was just super isolating.
Yeah.
Plus we weren't like in love with French culture and stuff. But I mean, it was fun. It was just we were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But one day we decided to take the bikes and bike to this supposedly like blue lake basically in the middle of the French countryside. And I was using maps on my phone. It said it would take us like 45 minutes to get there. And I was like, okay, great. I mean, we can bike this. I mean, it's fine. It's only 90 degrees outside. We won't bring any water. I mean, why would we need water, right? Yeah. And so the French countryside, it's not flat. No, it's mountainous borderline.
Wow,
So, just the hills were insane. It was just like such a steep incline. Riding down the hills was like
scary?
nothing else. It was beautiful. It was scary, but it was like
It was
awesome.
Okay.
But then you get to the bottom and there's another hill.
Oh
So
my God.
what was supposed to take us 45 minutes ended up taking me, Emmy, and Chris, the three of us, I don't know, maybe like 2-3 hours to get to this
It might have
place.
been slower on
And
bikes.
the funny thing, it is, because the funny thing is on Google Maps, it says by car, it's 10 minutes.
Yep.
And then by bike, it's like
45 minutes, which should have been a red flag, I think. But we get to the lagoon. It was so nice. It was like blue. I mean, in the middle of like nowhere in France, it's just this blue lake. So we swam in it. We had a really good time. And then we see like thunderstorm like clouds kind of coming in, and we're like, oh, we're a little worried because we knew it took us. I mean, we're so exhausted. We almost got heat stroke. We have no water. There's no water at the lake. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. There's no towns either. Like the towns we drive through, it's like a cow. Like it's a cow.
You see no people.
There's no
Stop for
people.
some milk.
Plus, even if we did see people, we don't speak French. So so we finally like get there, and we are at the lake. We're having a good time, and then we decide to leave because we're worried about the thunderstorm. And we're like, I don't think we're gonna make it back in time. Like we're gonna get rained on.
Yeah.
So we go through all this trouble to try to call. None of us have service, but we try to call Paul. We eventually get in contact with Paul through Vladimir, and we're like, Vladimir, can you tell Paul that we need him to come pick us up because it's a 10-minute drive.
He has a truck.
He has a truck, and Vladimir goes, Paul says they'll be fine. They have their bikes. I'm busy.
Oh no!
and so we're like, are you kidding? So eventually we get up and we start to bike back.
We get thunderstorm.
I mean, we get basically like 10 minutes into our bike ride and just pouring rain. To the point where, and lightning, everything.
That's
to the
dangerous,
point,
going
exactly.
down hills,
to the point where like we're like it's hurting.
Skidding,
To like it's hurting to. So we pull
crying.
we like pull over to the side of the road. I'm like, fuck you, Paul. And we have to like wait it out. But also at the same time, I mean, it was kind of fun. Like it was funny.
It's France.
It's something we look back on now, and that was really funny. Plus, we were all together, and like it was raining, and it was. I mean, it was funny.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah.
But by the time then it stopped raining, and we got heat stroke. Like that's how long it took us to get back. And then when we got back, Paul was like, "You guys okay?" And I didn't talk to him. I was like, "I can't." It was so much.
Wow.
He's funny.
So at that point, were you guys a little bit like, "Why am I here?
I think France was, for me at least, like the worst place, just because like we really were in the middle of nowhere, and like, you know, once you've biked like 2 miles in each direction, it's like, okay, well, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
You know, so like we watched a lot of movies, but for me, I was having like a lot of trouble like mentally. Like that was like the time where I would like call my parents, and I was really homesick, and like it was about like a month in kind of.
Yeah, we didn't have friends anymore.
Yeah, we like were missing like a lot of people, and it was like, okay, like should we have even done this? Like was this a good idea? Like just a lot of just like mental struggle.
Questioning it? Yeah.
It was a low point, I think, where we were like, should we just go home?
Yeah.
Because
like,
you guys at this point, and it's the whole idea of being thrown into the adult world. And it's like you're alone in France, fucking biking through a thunderstorm, crying, like skidding on, like down these huge
We're like, should we
hills.
be paying for this? Or like what?
Yeah, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then
understandable.
what we ended up doing was we had 3 weekends there. The first weekend we
In France? You were there for 3 weeks?
in France.
Oh,
we
wow.
went with
How early on? Sorry, but how early on was this?
like very early on. We were only
in
in
Dublin for like 5 days.
Yeah.
So I mean, how early on was the thunderstorm?
Oh, that was
like towards the end.
Towards the end, actually.
Towards the end,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. But
so at least you didn't
like we did that on the second weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
We tried to, what we decided to do was
Yeah.
plan to visit other places so that we wouldn't
Okay.
get,
So at least that didn't happen at the beginning. And then
Right.
you were,
So
like,
Yeah.
the
there for
first
3 weeks.
weekend we were there, we were able to talk Vladimir and Chris into going on like a short weekend trip with us.
Yeah.
And so we went to Arcachon, which is another city in France. It's like a big tourist city. And it's like if you were to imagine like Ocean City, but like the French Ocean City.
Yes. It's like where they go on their weekends. They take the train
Yeah.
to this little beach town. It
Yeah.
looks just like Ocean City or
That's so
Bethany
funny.
Beach. Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's so funny.
the big tourist thing is it's home to like what Europe's largest sand dune.
Yeah.
So it
Wow.
So that's why we went.
it sounds so lame, but you go and you're like, oh my god, like this is crazy. Like when you're at the top, it's like on one side it's like the sea and the other side it's a forest.
Wow, that is really
It's
cool.
It's like
Although
a
we almost-
desert.
we
I mean,
almost
it's
died.
huge.
We almost got
Yeah.
heat stroke then too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because there's
dang.
steps up one side. I mean, it's like a mountain. You just can
Yeah.
see the top because there's no trees. So there's steps up one side, but then we go down to the ocean to swim. Then you have to climb back up, and there's no steps. And it takes you like an hour to
Because,
climb
like-
back to the top.
Like,
Why-
have you ever walked on sand?
I mean,
Like
like on the
imagine
beach,
walking,
yeah.
imagine walking on sand, but steep uphill. It's horrible. It's really
so
bad.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But it was
really-
beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
But it was-
yeah.
So pretty, but it hurts.
It
so
hurt-
bad.
yeah.
And it's like the sand's burning.
Because
Yeah.
it's just the,
Did you have
it's the
shoes on?
desert.
At least?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I walked
Yeah.
up with shoes, and then you had to just put your shoes back on.
Wow.
It just hurt too much.
Yeah.
Did you say that you visited London while you were in France?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We did that the third weekend. And I think that's like a good transition because
yeah.
it's like the story that comes with London is really good.
So that was a good part.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really count as France, but it was like part of your France
So
stay.
basically what
Yeah.
happened was it was the last weekend we were in France, and we were, like Kaylee said, we were trying to go places on the weekends, and the second weekend we ended up staying because like we were tight on money, and I think we were really exhausted too, so we ended up staying there for that one weekend. And then the third weekend we decided to go to London. So we go to the Bordeaux airport, and it's like a terrible airport. It has like one terminal, but 3 flights flying out of it. So it's like everyone's going to the same place at once, and they have like I think France is one of the most annoying places to go through customs, because in Europe you go through customs every single time you go on like a plane.
Yeah.
Basically, you check your passport and all that stuff. And there's like hundreds of people in this airport in like one line for like 2 customs agents.
Single file.
Yeah, and it's like,
Oh,
and they are
no.
just so, it's literally like they would make eye contact with you and then just close down their gate.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah. Or there was one guy who was sitting behind the glass, and this woman was like knocking on his thing, and he was like, it was so
Wait,
funny.
there's
He just,
2
like-
people.
he
and
just
you're
waved her
saying
away.
Not right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the?
The thing is, like, they can do whatever. the
Yeah,
hell
they were like, he's
want.
like, I'm on break.
That is hilarious.
And so yeah, and you're just like, all I want to do is just like get on this plane, and like, of course, all we flew were like,
EasyJet,
budget airlines and stuff like that.
Ryanair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like basically they're budget airlines. So what you do is you pay for the ticket, and then when you check in, you have to pay for everything else. You have to pay for a seat. You have to pay for your luggage. You basically have to pay to like breathe air.
Yeah.
Like they charge you everything.
This seat doesn't come with oxygen unless you pay an extra.
Exactly. You gotta pay like the extra.
Yeah, it's like the planes where you
oxygen fee.
stand, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's literally what it
Like
is.
you pull the side of the wing to turn.
exactly. They duct tape it. Yeah, I mean,
You also have to fly it. You have to fly
Right.
the plane. Yeah.
yeah.
So
For sure.
And then so we get to London, and it was fine. Like we were at like basically what we did was we had to pay to get a shuttle service from the airport to the city. And we were also staying, London is one of the most expensive places like in the world, I think. It's like super expensive.
Plus they use pounds.
Yeah, and the exchange rate is huge.
Yeah.
So, you know, we tried to budget as well as we could, so we stayed in like a really crappy hostel. And so basically what we did was we bought like these shuttle tickets, and it was 2-way. And we go up to the counter, and they're like, well, what is this? And we're like, it's a ticket for the shuttle. And she's like, okay. And so she lets us go on the shuttle. We get there.
Wait,
and
she
like,
didn't?
Yeah, she was like, this isn't like a ticket. but then like let us.
But she
on.
let us on.
And so we were like, okay.
I don't know, but it was fine. I didn't care. We paid for it.
Yeah,
So.
we paid for it. It was so weird. And then,
That's so funny.
like the hostel was crazy. Like we had some like experiences in
You
the
had to
hostel.
sleep with a lot of people.
Yeah, so most hostels like standard kind of are like 4 to 6. Like that's like your most standard hostel room. We were staying in a 9-bedroom. So
Triple
they were-
bunk beds.
Yeah, triple bunk beds, like 3 or 4 of them.
It sounds like a Harry Potter
3
common
of
room or
us,
something.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
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 And do you want to tell them about
Yes.
the, like, one woman that came in?
This woman. I mean, most of the people in our room were fine, but this was definitely the worst hostel experience we've had. Most hostels are really nice,
Yeah.
and if there's a problem with the person in your room, you just talk to someone about it, you know, and you get it fixed. But this person she was so drunk. She comes in one night, and there's 9 people in this room, and she comes in like 3 a.m. All the lights are off, all this stuff. She is stumbling. I'm awake now because I'm a very light sleeper, so I heard her come in. I'm awake now. She falls into our bed, and I had to like hang on a little bit. And she was like, "Oh, sorry." She says sorry to the pole. I mean, there's no one there. And I was like, "This is gonna be funny." Then she goes over and she uses her phone flashlight, and she's looking for something in her bag. And I'm like, "Girl, just go to bed. Like, just go to bed."
It's the worst because like if it's ever been like pitch silent and it's like hearing somebody rustle for something, it's literally like
It's so loud. And so I'm laughing a little bit.
yeah.
And she's using her flashlight. And then I'm like, "Girl, just go to bed. Like, just go to sleep. You can take off your makeup later." And she's like trying to find something. And then she just sighs, turns off her phone flashlight, puts her bag down. And then she like starts making her way to the door. And I'm like, I sit in bed and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no way she's going to do it. And she walks over right by the door, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be good. And she just turns on the overhead light. And everyone in the room's like, oh. And she's like, sorry, guys, sorry. But she keeps it on, walks over, finds what she was looking for, and then she goes back and turns off the light. And then she falls into bed. And I was like, this is just the funniest thing. Like, that's the number
You're
one
just
rule.
geeking. You're just
I was like, I thought it was so fun because everyone else was asleep, but I was awake, so I like I was like, oh no, like, so funny. Yeah, it was really
like,
funny.
that's like the one rule.
You cannot turn on the light.
We weren't staying in the best. Well, London's not really.
Yeah,
There was
it was super expensive, and it was like the
Yeah.
worst quality one that you could find.
Hostel.
Yeah.
It's
Hostel,
like,
yeah.
It's like just like, but that's great. That's like a real London experience.
Exactly.
It's like you're living in London. It was.
Oh.
And we went to like a Chinese restaurant for dinner.
Yeah,
and it
yeah, it was
like,
classic.
good?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was really fun. And so we also we like treated ourselves and we splurged on like the Harry Potter
That
set
looked
tour.
awesome.
And that was just the coolest thing. We were geeking
Yeah.
out so much.
That's when I first remember
yeah.
seeing you guys post on like Instagram and being like, yo, what the fuck? Like, that looks so lit. Like, it was so
It was
freaking...
all the original props, all the
Yeah.
original set. I mean, it's
Costumes.
crazy.
So
It's a
cool.
crazy
Yeah.
place.
And so then so this was the worst travel day. This is what happened.
Wait, in London?
Yeah,
Wait,
so it
first
was
of all,
it was from
was Harry Potter, it was worth it, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, so worth it.
Highlight of France.
Yeah.
Even though it was in
Basically,
London.
Yeah, highlight of
basically,
France.
highlight of France.
And
yeah.
this is the worst like 2 travel days basically. It was 2 days in a row, and the
Yeah.
first one was going from London to back to France,
Yeah.
and then the next day we had to leave for Italy, like leave France for good.
Yeah.
But in your mind, okay, I'm sure the hostel
we
did
also went to the
not...
comedy club.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, in London?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, but in your mind, did London, not the hostel, I'm sure the hostel, you're like, God damn it, France. Like, this trip is like, but then did Harry Potter World redeem, like, the trip at that time? Was that, like, the savior, kind of? Like, what was, like, the...
I don't know, like, I don't think I've ever thought about it like that.
Yeah.
It was just, like, it was definitely one of the biggest highlights of just the Europe trip so far, just because, like, I don't know if everyone would agree, but,
Yeah.
like, because, you know, Harry Potter means so much to us,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it was
Yeah.
crazy. Like, we were standing there, like, we would kind of just stand there, like, in awesome times and just be like, wow, like, this is literally, like, the shirt Emma Watson wore, and you kind of just stand there and stare at it.
And you're like, Emma Watson was in that shirt.
Yeah.
And I think that was the big. I haven't really thought about it before, but I think that was the big switch where we realized we went from France to London, and we were so like sad in France, and then we went to London and we had a good time, and we were like, we need to be in a city. Like we probably need to be in a city, and we were excited to go to Italy too. So I think it was kind of just a switch where leaving France and just seeing like being in London, being in the city, being around people
Yes.
our age.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
And what we ended up doing was, because London was so expensive, there was like not much that we did. So it was like the one full day that we had, we went to the Harry Potter tour.
Yeah.
And then we were out at night and we were just like in some coffee shop, like booching off their Wi-Fi. And Kaylee like found online this comedy club. It was called Top Secret Comedy Club, and it was like £1 to get in.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
we were like, even if it's bad, like
Exactly. Yeah. And it's probably funnier if it's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's go. So we ended up going, and it was the best choice we ever made.
Yeah.
It was funny?
Yeah, it was so funny.
Especially the accents. I mean, they make it so much better.
Yeah.
Like it was all kinds of English accents. It was so fun.
And you had like, I think there's an Australian guy the first night, like a young Australian dude.
Yeah.
Wait, did you go both 2 nights?
Yeah, so we went
nice.
2 nights.
Yeah, I guess
because,
£1.
Like,
Why not?
the first night, and then like the next night we were like, okay, like that was so good. And then we had also saw that they had a theme for that night. Like each night they do like a themed show.
Cool.
And so the second night it was called Tinder Tales, and it was all about like horrible dating experiences.
That sounds
It was
great.
we were like,
best.
We were like, we
so
have
funny.
to go to that. And we went. It ended up being like in the bigger venue because like a lot more people went.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic.
Did
like,
you
it was really fun.
you get heckled by any
No, we
Not in
tried
that
to
one.
sit near the front, but it didn't
was-
really
Gotcha,
work.
yeah.
But there were these like probably like 16, 17-year-old guys in the front row, and they were just picked on so much.
Yeah.
This one woman was like, how old are you? Oh, you're like a baby. Okay, which one's a virgin? Like, it was so funny. It was really funny.
Oh.
Everyone picked on them.
And it's like, it's just, I've never been to like a comedy show like that. I went to like one big one like in DC once,
Yeah.
but I never gone to like
Because
just,
they're
like,
21.
such like an intimate setting.
Yeah.
So we just like immediately fell in love with it.
Yeah.
It's like just watching like, people like get heckled, and like then you get like the entertaining ones where they like try to like heckle the comedians.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's embarrassing. Exactly. It's like it's always just such like a fun experience, even if like. And then even you watch somebody bomb, and you're like, well,
it happens.
Like,
Yeah, it's still funny.
happens.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
What was the worst Tinder tale? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
They were all
pretty bad.
Yeah.
They're just
I
crazy.
don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just horror
They were
stories.
all they were pretty bad, and a lot of them were about different like I mean so there was one girl
I remember the guy bombing. I remember him.
Yeah, there was a guy who was really bad.
Why it wasn't even like a scary Tinder tale?
It wasn't
Is
even
it one time I went on
no,
a date?
he just had like a bad attitude, and I think the audience was not
They
feeling
felt
it
that,
at all.
yeah.
And but there were just a couple like ones about nationalities. So like there was a girl from New York, and she was
Yeah.
talking about what it's like to be an American
Yeah.
and date someone that's not American.
Yeah.
And then there was an Irish guy who was making fun of Irish Americans and like that kind of stuff, which was really fun. And how like in America we like idolize Ireland for like no reason. Like St. Patrick's Day, it's
Yeah.
like not that big there. And
Really?
like
Don't care.
we take it, and all these people saying they're like Irish Americans, but like you've never been to Ireland. It's like you're not like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's funny.
That sounds like a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're kind of like cities were the place to be. I guess like if you're going to a suburb, it's like they're not prepared for tourists. It's like
Right.
everybody's like, I don't want to be with tourist kids, but it's honestly like it's touristy
Yeah,
for a reason, I guess.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, so
Travel days.
Yeah, so then our travel day happened. So basically, earlier I mentioned that we had bought these shuttle tickets, and we bought return as well.
Yeah.
So we have our bags, we packed up, we leave the hostel, we take the tube to where we need to go.
Yeah.
And we go to the bus, and we're like, okay, where do we go? And they're like, oh, you gotta go to this like office, like a couple blocks away. So like, okay. So we walk a couple blocks, go to the office, and they're like, oh, you gotta go to this other office.
What the?
So we walk like 3 more
It's like
blocks.
Verizon
to this other,
support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like 3 other blocks to this other place, and then she proceeds to tell us, she's like, oh yeah, these aren't tickets, and we're like, then what did we pay for?
Where'd you get them from?
We got
Klook.
them online. Yeah.
Klook.
Like,
Fuck Klook. It's like this website that
This episode is sponsored by Klook. No,
I know, bro.
no, it's not. No,
like,
it's not.
like Klook vouchers. It basically you pay for like
it's like you
transfers.
paid for like
Yeah.
so basically what she said kind of what she was basically like, you paid for like a reservation
Okay.
for a ticket, and so we
Yeah.
were like, okay, well then can we get a ticket? And she's like, oh no. And we're like, well why? She's like, oh, they're sold out. And we're like, We literally paid like
the
to go on
hell?
it was like a 12 o'clock or something like that.
Okay.
And to get to the airport, it was like an hour, and then you know like, and so we were already kind of like running late on time. Like we had to leave on this bus, and she said, she's like, oh, the next bus leaves at like 1, and our flight was like 1:45.
Yeah, we were like,
and
so she's like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's not gonna make it.
She's like, oh yeah, and then she's like, you can try this other one, and we're like, okay, well then can we get a refund? And she's like, no, you can try like Klook.com, and we're like, okay, whatever.
Oh, fuck Klook.
So we walk again to this other place, and we're like starting to panic, but we're like, you know, in those situations, like you have to like stay calm and go all the way to the end of the line. And so we go to this other place, and they're like, oh yeah, we have tickets for you, and we're like, oh great, and then they're like, yeah, so it leaves at 1, and we're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And so then now we're like, okay, like what do we have to do? So it was horrible, but we ended up having to get an Uber. And the thing was that we like penny pinched so much while we were in London. Like we barely ate out. Like we bought like trashy food, like just so that we wouldn't spend that much.
An Uber through a city.
And an Uber just threw a wrench in that plan. It was like £68, which like later on when I transferred it was like $88 for an Uber.
Horrible.
And so then we get to the airport,
That hurts.
and
That
like
hurts.
the airport was like really like the London airport was the craziest one because it was
Luton.
it was like 3 different. It was like if you have like this on your passport, you go here. But if you also have this on your passport, you go here.
Have
but
you
if
been
you have
there?
this on your passport, you go there. It was like
Yeah.
It's the shittiest airport in London is Luton because it's not anywhere near London. I mean, it's way out in the middle of nowhere, and it's where all of the budget airlines fly.
Yeah.
That's like all it is. It's like
like
EasyJet.
it's
the
the
hell?
trashy
That's so weird.
airport.
It's
So
really bad.
we get on the plane, you know, like we're exhausted, and we get on the plane, and then so again we're flying into Bordeaux, and we have to get back to Brosac. And so we have to fly into Bordeaux, take a shuttle to the train station, then train, you know, to the place. And basically, you know, it's annoying. Like, we hate the airport, but we get there, and we end up getting on the train, and we're, like, mentally just totally done.
You're
we're
done.
We're like, wow, we literally had, like, the worst day. Like, the airport experience was horrible. Like...
Yeah.
And we're, like, just sitting on this train, and we know that, like, the second we get back, we have to unpack and repack again because we're leaving the next morning.
Yeah.
And so we're just like, oh, God, like, all
Can
we
we
want to
not
do
pack?
is, like,
Can
all we
we
want
just-
to do is,
yeah.
like, go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting on the train, and the way that you get your tickets at the train station is you literally just go to a kiosk, and you just literally click through, like, a bunch of questions. So one of the questions on there is, like, do you have any discounts? And by that, it's, like, senior citizens, if you're a student, if you're, like, in the army, stuff like that. So we always click no discount, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have any discount. So we're on the train, and the conductor comes to take our tickets, and she starts speaking to us in French, and we're like, oh, sorry, like, parlez no English. Like, parlez no français. And we're like, do you speak English? Like, and she, like, starts speaking broken English, and she's like, can I see your student IDs? And we're like, oh, we're not students, we're just tourists.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, here it says you have a student discount. And we're like,
No.
like we don't.
No.
And she's like, it says right here, like if you did that, like that's like not like a felony, but that's like it's like illegal to do that, to like lie and like try, because basically if you take the discount, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And so then she was like, oh, so you like tried to get this for cheap? And we're like, no, we said no discount. And she's like, it says right here you have a discount. We don't know what to tell you, like we didn't do it. And then she starts like talking to the other one in French.
Oh no.
And we're like,
I think it was
panicking,
also
like,
kind of like, I don't want to say this,
scam
but
us.
for sure it was a scam. I mean, we're like these two like stupid ass like American tourists.
Oh, so you don't think
and
they
we're
worked
like,
there?
No, they did,
Okay.
but I think it was more of like, because then they started talking in French, and I feel like it was just kind of like a.
It's like they can pocket the money. Like if we were to just like shell out like $40, like they could so easily just put it in their
I
pocket.
see.
But so what ended up happening was she was like, yeah, so you're each gonna have to pay €40 for like this like offense. And we're like, but we didn't do it. Like we don't know how to tell you that we didn't do it. And she goes, okay, you know what I'm gonna do for you? You only have to pay one. So
€1?
20, like no, 20 for each
No, it was
of you.
80. It was 80. She said 80 each.
Oh, 80.
And then she was like, okay, I'll make it 40.
Yeah, I know, you're right. So, and then it was like, yeah, so then Kaylee like paid, and like she left, and we just started laughing. Like we were
Because y'all are just like
we were
hysterical.
like so like done with the day, and so we just start laughing, and like we're sitting in this 4-seater, and the guy across from us, there's like a guy across from us and a guy like on the aisle across from us, and we just start laughing, and you know they start laughing and they're like, oh, like these stupid girls, and then like immediately we just start switching, and we just start bawling,
Like sobbing.
like,
We're like,
And then they start crying too.
and then they were so done. Like the guy across from us just put up his headphones. He was like,
he literally put his headphones on. He was like,
Oh my
the
goodness.
guy just like put his face in his newspaper.
yeah.
It was really bad.
Wow.
Yeah, so then we get back.
You are just like probably, well,
We're-
at least we're fucking back.
Like at least we're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah,
that
like,
was the biggest
we
thing.
spent more money in that one day
Than
than in
the
our
entire
entire
trip.
trip. in
It was so
London.
horrible.
It was bad. And so then we get back, you know, we're exhausted, you know. Paul's saying all this stuff. He's like, well, it's because of your women, you know, like, all that stuff. And we're saying goodbye to, like, our friends. We had, like, a crazy night, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
And then you want to say the next day?
Oh, yeah, the next day. Oh, yeah, so we go to Italy. We're flying to Italy. So we fly to Bordeaux again. So we have to do that same shit. Get back on the train, take the shuttle bus to the...
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't realize going to Europe, you know, you say, oh, let's go to Rome. Oh, we'll fly to Rome. You get a flight to Rome. No. You need to, like, get a transfer from the airport to the city. You need to figure out how you're going to get to your hotel in the city. It's all these steps that are just... You don't think about it before you go. And so... So we do all these transfers. We get back to the Bordeaux airport. It's horrible because we had to get there, like, we got there super early and we had nothing to do, so we were just waiting in the airport. We finally get on our flight, and we're going to Mantova, which is, like, 2 hours outside of this little town called, what was it called?
Which town?
The one that we flew into, the airport.
Treviso.
Treviso or something? Yeah, Treviso or something. It's a super small town.
Yeah.
But they have an airport, and it was cheap to fly there. So we fly to the airport, and we go down, and I'm like, okay, let's just figure it out when we get there. So this was the one time we didn't plan ahead how we were going to get to the place.
Yeah.
Because I was like, let's just ask the woman there how to get to the place. So we asked the woman, and she knows English, and she's like, oh yeah, at the airport. She was like, oh yeah, it's fine. Just take this bus. And take it to the train station, and then just get on a train to Mantova, and you'll be there in like 2 hours. And I was like, okay, great, thank God.
Yeah.
So we buy the tickets with her there. We get on the bus. We get on the right bus because she told us exactly where to go.
Nice.
So we get on this bus, and there's no. I mean, this is a small town. There's no like signs for the next stop. There's no signs at all anywhere, and all these people are just on the bus. I mean, it's just like locals, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're getting on and off.
And no one speaks English. We can't find anyone who speaks English. And she said ride about 40 minutes to the train station, right? About 10 minutes into the trip, we pull up at this like thing that kind of looks like a train station.
And you're just like, what do we do?
And I'm like, what do we do? And I'm like, okay, but it would say, yeah, she said 40 minutes. So I'm sure we'll see like a sign that says train station outside the train station or something.
And also to like mention, so now we're in Italy in this time, and I know like very basic Italian.
Yeah.
And what we had done is we learned, and you can save like Google Translate offline, so it will do like a lot of just very basic phrases.
Yeah.
So a handful of times I tried to talk to somebody and be like, hey, I'm confused, can you help me find the train station? But they like would not understand me, even though I was talking like in Italian. It was very broken, and they could not like.
Yeah, they could because they were just so used to. Plus, what happened with that was we were supposed to download Italian, but we still had French downloaded instead of Italian, so we didn't even have the backup like dictionary or anything. And there's
had just phrases.
Right, online. Exactly. And so we're on this bus, and we basically ride the bus for like an hour. And then I'm like, we definitely missed it. Yeah. How did we miss it? I don't know. This one woman is on the back of the bus, and she stands up, and she starts speaking, like, broken English to us. And we were like, oh, my God, you speak English?
Thank God.
She was like, where are you go? She's like, are you trying to go to the train station? And we were like, yes. And she says, because we have our suitcases. And she was like, no one told, oh, my God. She's like, no one told you? I mean, it was like four stops ago. And so she's like, okay, well, I'm going to ask the bus driver if you can just stay on and get off the next time, and he'll just say train station. Like,
how long is this loop?
I think
the
it's
whole city.
The whole city. Yeah, I mean, it goes through the whole city.
Okay, at least I mean that's better
It's
than
not-
like a Europe train.
It goes from the airport into the city and then back. So she was like, just stay on this and then get off at the train station. We were like, thank you. She's like, it's okay. I'm so sorry no one else like helped you. But we feel stupid, obviously. So we stay on the bus. The bus just pulls over to the side of the road. He gets out and he just gets off the bus. And the bus driver, and it's just us on the bus. And he's like, he's like taking his break or whatever. Yeah. Anyways, we just wait. 20 minutes later, he gets back on the bus. Not a word is spoken to us. He just gets back on the bus, and we're like, okay. He starts his route again, and we start picking up people. This old man gets on the bus. I mean, it's so clear we can't understand him, but he just keeps talking to us. He's pointing at my guitar, and he's like, and I'm like, and then he points at the ukulele that Emmy was holding, and he's like, oh, violin. And I was like, no, ukulele. And he was like, oh, cool. But he didn't understand anything. Yeah. And then he's just pointing at my guitar. He's like, and I'm like, yeah, no, yeah. And he's like, Led Zeppelin. Yeah. Like, he's just saying, like, like, it's so funny. He's just saying American guitars. And I'm like, yeah, see, yeah. And so he's just, whatever. We have to deal with that the entire time. Finally, we get to the train station. It was the place we thought it was. And so we get off, and we go into the train station, and we go to the kiosk, and nowhere does it say to Mantova. So we were like, okay, how about this? How about we get the Wi-Fi from the train station and we look up, like, how to get to Mantova? Like, maybe we have to transfer because there were no direct trains. So we try to find Wi-Fi at the train station, and there's no Wi-Fi at the train station, which has never happened to us before. Everywhere we go, there's Wi-Fi at the train station, but there was none. All of it was locked. So we walk half a block down, half a block the other way, and there's no Wi-Fi. Like, I can't find it anywhere in this city. So we have no, like, backup. We have no data or anything. So we're like, what do we do? So we decide to call Clark, the guy we're supposed to be staying with, and we call him using someone else's phone, but that took so long. We were like, can we use your... asking people, and they were like, no. And so finally we get on the phone, and he was just like, okay, just go up to the people at the train station, the, like, actual physical person, and, like, just say, I need to get to Mantova tonight.
Just start crying.
Yeah. So we get in this line. I'm a little worried because basically we were like, are we going to make it tonight? When's the last train? And he was like, oh, yeah, you'll make it. Yeah, you'll probably make it. And so we get in the line, and we're waiting in this line for, like, it's a huge line. So it's like 30 minutes. We finally get to the person. We're like, we need to get to Mantova tonight. He goes, okay. He types on his computer. He goes, not possible. And I'm like, okay, so you don't see the problem. We need to get to Mantova tonight. And he was like, Verona, maybe. Verona's like an hour outside of Mantova. So it's like the next stop, basically. So he's like, Verona, maybe, but not Mantova. And so we were like, okay. So he was like, you could probably get to Verona and then maybe find a train to Mantova, but or you could just sleep at the train station. We're like, I don't know, whatever. So we get the train to Verona, and he's like, go now. Like, go now because it's leaving.
Oh my goodness.
Like, so we're trying to find, like, our stop, like, what level it's on, all this stuff. So we finally get on the train. We're like, oh, thank God. We're like, okay, so
you're headed to a city in an hour. Thank God.
And it says,
today's gone great.
Basically, here's Treviso, and here's Mantova, here's Verona, right? And then there's, like, Venice over here. There's, like, this is, like, northern Italy, right? So we get on a train, and it's going, we have to transfer a train to head to Verona. Okay. So we're looking at our thing, and it was like, we finally look at our ticket, and it says transfer, and I was like, oh my God, we have to transfer. So it said transfer at Verona, or at some station.
Veneto, which is basically Venice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it basically, what, like, it did was, we didn't realize, is it basically takes you all the way almost out to Venice, and then you transfer and get on a train to Verona.
Okay, gotcha.
But
we didn't know that. So we're, like, looking for our stop. It's dark outside. We're looking for our stop, and everything starts with V. And long story short, we miss our stop.
Wait, the one after.
The one to transfer to Verona. Gotcha, So we're just heading to Venice. I mean, it's like 2 hours. It's the wrong direction.
You're just in Venice.
Yeah, basically.
Wait, you got off the train, though.
No. So we missed our stop, and then we're like...
I see.
So we just sat on the train, and we're like, we're panicking. We're, like, doing that thing where we're laughing and crying. We're like, we don't know what to do. So we turn. I mean, we've already had, like, the worst couple of days. Yeah. And this guy named Lorenzo, he's sitting in the seat next to us, and I don't know. He spoke some English. Turns to us, and he's just, like, crying and stuff. He's like, did you miss your stop? And we're like, yeah. He's like, okay, where are you trying to go? And we said Verona, and he's like, this train's going to Venice. And I was like, yeah, we know. And he was like, okay, so he was so nice. Yeah. He literally got us off the train in Venice, and he was like, okay. He literally ushered us. He's like, this is a train to Verona. He's like, get on this. Don't get off until you see Verona. And I'm like, that's fair. I mean, that's fair.
Wait. So did you guys have to pay again for this new train? Or was it just
luckily, like...
They didn't check the tickets or anything.
It was really late. It was like one of the last trains, so like they didn't.
There was no one on the train. I mean, we had the whole train to ourselves.
So he got you on your train to Verona, essentially.
Yes, basically, which was so nice. I mean, we would not have known. Yeah. So finally, we get to Verona and we get off, and now we're in Verona, but we're an hour away from Mantova.
Everything's closed.
Everything's closed.
So hard.
The Wi-Fi is like it's like on 30-minute timers and stuff. So we finally get enough Wi-Fi. We call Clark and we're like, "Hi, we're in Verona." And he's like, "You're not. You're supposed to be in Mantova." And I was like, "Right, but
we're not."
I was like, "So do you want us to sleep here or?" And he was like, "I'll come pick you up." He did not want to come pick us up, but he did anyways. He drove an hour to come pick us up.
Yes.
And then we were so like, whatever. So we finally made it to Mantova. But that was the longest.
We felt really bad because like we're normally like very high energy and like happy-go-lucky people.
You guys aren't like.
He picked us up and we were like, "Hi."
Yeah.
Hi. And he was mad at us, and we were mad at him. I mean, we were mad at ourselves, and so it's just.
Like, luckily, he had like the worst week of his life like right before us, so
luckily.
It didn't help that was the case. But it was like we were better than that.
Yeah, he was like telling the story in the car, and we were like, "Okay, this isn't a big deal anymore."
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah. You're like, we get it.
Yeah.
So then we were in Italy.
So wow. Let's just reflect for a second.
Yeah, that was a long story.
Y'all had, first of all, y'all did not have a great time in France, at least. And then, Britain seemed to, London seemed to save the day. So y'all it seemed like y'all had a terrible time in France. London seemed to save the day. But then, London was hella expensive, and the exit on London seemed, the Brexit, you might say.
The Brexit.
She just literally just like was so terrible. And then pretty much from then to this new city, it was just complete.
Just like it was 48 hours of just horrible travel.
So it can't get much worse than that.
No, I think that was definitely like the lowest point.
Yeah, that was the lowest. I think when we were on the train and we're like on the way to Verona, it was like we finally got on the right train, but we were 2 hours like from Verona. That was when we were just like, I have videos.
Yeah, we like lost it. Yeah, like we lost it. Like there's just like probably like an hour of just videos of us just like fucking around on that train. Like we're like dancing in the aisles. Like it's just.
I wrote a song on the train called "Trapped on a Train" in Italy, and we like filmed it and recorded it.
Oh my goodness!
I haven't edited it.
We had so much time to kill.
All right, well. So that's a great example of what can go wrong on these trips, and like what now next time obviously what to figure out. So like, was Italy great? Was Italy finally what you were looking for, kind of?
Yeah. Yes. So it definitely like the thing is like, it wasn't it was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's not against France. Of course.
It wasn't like we were in a city or anything.
Yeah.
However, like the people we were with, so we were staying with Clark, his business is it's a reading retreat. And so what he does is he has like people stay with him. It's kind of like a bed and breakfast in a way.
Oh, cool.
So he'll like entertain guests, like he gives us tour every time.
Was he a nice guy?
Yeah, so he was a nice guy, like we had our own problems with him, but his helper in the house, her name was Chechi, and she was just like the most wonderful person in the entire world. Yeah. And I think, like, one of the things, like, I don't know if this is, like, too profound or not, but, like, when I was, like, reflecting back on it, I think the thing that really made it for us was, this was, like, at the point
Made Italy trip, or made the entire trip?
Made Italy.
Okay.
Made this point in Italy, like, really special was because at that point, I think was when you're starting to really miss home, like, when you're starting to, like, feel homesick, and she just had this, like, motherly presence, and so it was kind of just like I remember one night we literally were all just like were hugging and just like crying, like
wow.
We would just like have just really nice talks and just experiences with her, and like we got to learn all about her life, and like her and I, like we shared a lot of like experiences like about the troubles with like our mothers, and we really bonded over that, and I think that was one of the things that made it so special was these relationships that we got with Chechi and Clark,
Mm-hmm.
because it was like Clark also became this like kind of like uncle figure in our life, where like he would give us advice, but we like, you know, it wouldn't be like, we're not taking it too serious. Like, he's not like our dad, but it's like, you know, he'll take care of us and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So much better than Paul.
Oh my god.
Yes,
yeah.
they
So
were
much
just
better.
real people.
Yeah.
Like Paul seemed kind of, he didn't really like want to get to know us. I mean,
Yeah.
he was like more professional,
Yeah.
which makes sense. I mean, it's a professional thing.
Yeah.
But when we got to Clark and Chechi's, it was like we joked with them. They knew. We just talked like. I mean, it was like we knew each other.
What was
So-
were other people there? You said it was like a bed and breakfast kind
Yeah,
of.
so
it was like
Guests
we
would
had
come.
like a couple guests come through, but it was a pretty slow part of the season, is what Clark said.
it was mostly you guys.
Yeah, so we had like a couple of British women come through,
Mhm.
and then we had a couple of German women come through,
Yeah.
and then he had like daily guests where
Yeah.
he would
Okay,
have like
cool.
people from Italy like come
How long were you there for?
a month.
A month. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a long part of
Yeah.
the trip.
So it was really fun.
Yeah, so and we had chosen to go there was because Kaylee had heard from our interim program like leader
Yeah.
that he throws like huge Halloween parties, and we love Halloween,
Oh.
so that's why we ended up going.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
had
yeah.
gone
Yeah.
because of this Halloween party, so we decided to work the month before it and
Yeah.
work into the party, and so we basically just got to spend like almost the entire month just like planning and setting up.
That's
for Halloween.
awesome. Like,
And
you
for
were-
the trail, the
yeah.
haunted trail.
Yeah,
I
like-
mean.
It was.
And then we
fun.
spent that night we were in the woods just scaring people, like, and all these Italians would just be like, you know, like, they'd be like, "Vacca," like, they would like curse at
Curse,
you,
yeah.
and it was so fun. It was
Yeah.
so much fun.
Like,
It was a haunted
yeah.
house, and people were just like.
Yeah, so basically what it was it's a huge house party essentially, and like he has like big rooms, so he had like a live band playing,
Yeah.
and we decorated like literally every single room.
Awesome.
Hours.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. Like, I mean, it was very stressful. Like, Clark had like a bit of a temper, so like
Yeah.
we had to deal with that.
Yeah.
But like setting up, it was. I don't mean to like, you know, brag or anything, but like we did such a good
Yeah.
job setting up. Like, there's this one idea that Kaylee had that was just absolutely
Stop.
genius.
Stop.
It was like there in the barn. There was this huge like space above the barn where just
Yeah.
a bunch of storage was. Like, it was just a bunch of like old wooden chairs and just a bunch of trash essentially.
Is it like one of those
Like-
ladders and then like?
Kinda,
Yes,
yeah,
like
exactly.
that, yeah.
And
It was like a hayloft.
It was like
Gotcha,
yeah,
yeah.
and it was so ugly. And
Yeah.
so like we didn't know what to do with it, and so Kaylee was just like, let's put a sheet over it and then just put witches' hats. Like, it's just like a coven of witches up there. And Clark was like
Ah.
not having it. He was like, no, like we're just gonna cover it. Like, and Kaylee was like, okay, just let me like try it. Like, you go do something, let me and Emmy try this, and you
Yeah.
come back and see if you like it. If you don't like it, we'll take it down.
Yeah.
And like it was a bit of an argument, but like, you know, we did it, and
Yeah.
he comes back like an hour later and it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and it was like a huge hit. Like, people like mentioned it
Because
to
it
Clark.
looked like witches were all
Yeah,
up
'cause,
there.
like, and, like,
We
we
put,
put like a light behind
Wigs, like a
Yeah.
bucket, and then a wig, and then witches' hats.
So you could
it
only
looks
see
like,
the kind of heads.
Yeah, so it looked
Oh,
like they
nice.
were,
and they
Yeah.
looked like they were like this, like covering a fire.
nice,
It was
yeah.
really
I
cool.
think, yeah.
And we did like a bunch of like trip wires. So there's this one like paint closet that he had that
Yeah.
was like, it's scary. It was basically a wooden door with like a grate on top of it, and we like had somebody at the top of the stairs like scaring people as they came through, and they had like a pull string. And so when you would look into the room, like you pull the bucket of screws would like hit the door and
Oh,
make
you get them
loud
twice.
noise.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And they
Yeah.
would
And
freak
so-
out. Yeah.
And so that was fun. That was like the house, and then we had to like create a trail. So to get into the party, like to get into the house, you
Yeah.
had to walk through the trail. So we would
Okay.
get every single
Yeah.
person at the party because you had to walk through it.
Get them
And,
before they're
like,
ready.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was just like it was basically like Clark had other people come and scare like old time friends and stuff, but
Yeah.
like me, Clark, and Kaylee were the number one. It was basically like we came up with this like super dope idea where Kaylee dressed up as a scarecrow. So basically in the whole first part of the path was dummies. It was all dummies.
Yeah.
Like, none of the people were real.
Ah.
And so, like, then we had Kaylee set up just, like, a couple yards out into, like, this big field as a scarecrow.
I'm like,
just, like, standing like this.
Yeah.
And
have
then they got close.
mask on,
Yeah.
The
so
mask
you
was
can't
so
tell them a
scary.
person.
Like, she created this mask. It was so cool.
Nice.
And, like, then when they got close, she would just scream and, like, run at them.
I'd get him every time. It was
That's
so
awesome.
And then, like, right when they, like... And you know, like, when you're, like, scared, you, like, back up.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
you can keep, like, keeping them, like, backed up because they don't want to go
You just keep
forward.
running towards them.
Yeah, and then, like, so once they turn this corner, like, you think you're in the clear, and then Clark is, like, in a bunny mask with a chainsaw. And, like, it was awesome. And so then you go up, like, through the gate, and then you come down, and I'm, like, waiting. He had, like, a huge goat pen. He had, like, 4 goats.
Yeah.
And I was, like, in the goat pen, like, on the side of the wall, and there was, like, a thing blocking me.
Yeah.
And they had to walk all the way down to, like, basically where they would meet me face to face and
Yeah.
then turn.
Yeah.
And so no one knew I was there, so I just scream in their face, and, like, I had a frying pan, I'd bang it on them. It was so, like, great.
Yeah.
And, oh my god, the amount of, like, screams that you get.
And it's just like back to back to back.
And,
Yeah.
and it was so fun because, like, Clark, like, all 3 of us were so into scaring that what we would do is sometimes if people got good reactions, what we would do is we would, like, I would scare them once, then then Clark would get them, then Emmy would get them, and then me and Clark would run around to, like,
Get
later
them
in the
again?
trail and get them
Oh
again.
my
And Clark was
goodness.
like, I'm gonna get him again. I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, it was so
Would they be
fun.
mad? Would they be mad? Like,
Like, everyone loved
Well,
it.
yeah, they loved
I know,
it.
but mad in a good
But
way.
yeah.
And then, like, after the last people came through, we had, like, an hour to just go and, like, mingle in the party.
Yeah.
The thing was, they had, like, so many more people than they were expecting, so there wasn't any food left for us.
Oh, dang.
And so we got in, and Chi was, like, freaking out. She's like, girls, there's no more food. There's no more food. Let me make you some pasta. And she's, like, taking care of, like, everybody at this party.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, it's okay. Like, we can eat later, because basically we had to do, like, a second trail.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we'll just eat later. She's like, no, like, sit and eat. Like, I'm so worried about you guys.
Wow.
And then, like, people would, like, recognize us from the trail.
Yeah.
And, like, we couldn't really speak Italian, but they would be like, oh my god, like, you got me so good. Like,
Yeah, they would just come and be like, wow, I'm like all in Italian, and we'd be like, yeah. And as they leave, you have to we do another trail too.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
they have to
nice.
exit
Yeah.
through the trail too, which is really fun.
They just ate with you and then you just scare them.
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
Like, they literally just hung out in the house, and then you can just go through the trail again. And I think the second one was more fun because everyone was already pretty drunk by then.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, I got a lot more, like, funny reactions
Yeah.
than, like, scared.
Like, no,
Like, I got
no.
I got this guy dressed as, like, the Joker.
Yeah.
And, like, I scared the shit out of him, and he was like, oh, man, and he just handed me his J. He was like, you want it? And I was like, nah. And he was like...
And there was Clark was telling us that there's this one thing you just, like, the one curse that you don't do in Italy is you say vacca Madonna, because it basically means, like, you're
Like,
calling,
fuck
like,
Mother Mary.
like fuck, like, Mary, and so it's like you don't say that, but, like, I think I got, like, one girl to, like, scream it.
Oh my goodness. That's hilarious.
So fun.
It's like,
all we did was, like, the weeks leading up to
Yeah.
Halloween was scare people. Like, we scared Chechi so many times. Like, he had another guest come, and, like, we scared her. Like, that's all we would do is just try to figure out ways to scare people.
wow.
So
That
it was
sounds
really fun.
so, like, wholesome compared to every other part of the trip so far.
Exactly.
So
it was just a
fun.
great, like, we'd go out to the store. We go out to, also, when we were on the weekends, we got to travel to, like, we went to everywhere, like, Bologna, Verona, Milan. We went to all these, like, weekend trips, which was also really fun.
That
We got to
sounds
see the city.
awesome. Like, and this kind of sounds like the home kind of that you
Yeah.
found.
We
You
were
there for
sad
a
to
month.
leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're still in contact with them. Like, they comment on all our Instagram
Awesome.
posts and stuff.
You'd go back for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'd go back.
Is that the first place you'd go back to?
I think Florence
Yeah.
is,
Florence.
but it's only an hour. Florence is only like an hour from
Yeah.
Mantova, so it's really just Italy we'd go back
Yeah.
to first.
Is that where you got the painting?
No, that was in Florence.
Yeah.
Oh, in Florence you did, what was it? You did
We did, so I did Italian classes, and then we both did painting and drawing.
painting.
And then I did art history.
Yeah.
How was the painting?
Painting was really fun.
It was really fun.
like, the thing was, so we were in Florence for 3 weeks, and painting and drawing was one class. So you basically would have 2 classes a week.
Yeah.
But one day was painting and one day was drawing. So, like, we didn't get, like, that much time.
Gotcha, yeah.
So we would bring it home with us, like, to our apartment, and
Yeah.
we painted a lot, like, just in our apartment.
Which was nice.
Yeah. How was the teacher?
So our painting, we had 2 painting teachers. They were both good.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice.
It was just
ladies.
a cool like place because it's just in the middle of Florence. There's just this like building with this studio, and it's like open so you can see the top level and the bottom floor, and it's just everyone painting, and then there's a drawing class in the back, and it's a
there's all different types of classes. There's like fashion design going on,
and it's all young people. It's like people who are either traveling like us or
like studying.
Yeah.
Like on the side. Yeah. It's really cool. Like you walk in and you're just like, yeah, this is where the artists hang.
Yeah, this is where people go.
Naked models, did they have to draw?
Yeah. So
did you have to draw?
One of the best stories of Florence was the first day that we walked into our drawing class. So we first had painting on Wednesday, and then we had drawing on Thursday.
Yeah.
And so Thursday, you know, like we walk from our apartment, and we're like really excited, and I walk into the class, and I'm like, oh, Kaylee, can you go get our materials from upstairs? And she's like, yeah, sure. So she goes in, and she leaves, and I say something to the guy that's in there. There's only like one guy in there. And I'm just like, hi. And he's like, hola. And I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. Like, that's not Italian, is it? and then I'm just like, oh, so like, you the teacher? And he just like kind of like looks at me. He doesn't really say anything. Kaylee comes back in, and I'm like, oh, like I think that's the teacher. Like he said like hi, you know. And she's like, oh, okay. And we're like about to go and like talk to him, and we like look over. And he, like, walks into the corner and, like, behind the screen, and he just starts undressing.
Before he even got behind the screen, too. He just took off his fucking shirt, and I was like...
And so we're like...
What kind of class
Yeah, we're, like, standing there, and, like, there's only, like, 2... Like, people have started to, like, kind of come in.
Yeah.
And, like, other students are there, and we're just, like... They're all, like, setting up. They're all, like... Da, 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 and we're like... What? Kaylee? Like,
how do they teach in Italy?
And so, like, yeah, we were like, what? And then, like, he just walked out butt naked, and we're just like, we don't know how to react to this.
It's like, we're in the wrong class,
like, yeah,
for sure.
Like, we're like, whoa. And we start to, like, you know, like, piece it together.
Yeah,
and we're like,
yeah.
oh, okay, like, this is a nude model. Like, we're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be in basic drawing, right? And then the actual teacher walks in, and he's just like, all right, guys, like, do this, and do that.
Start with your 2B pencils, and we're like,
Like, he's like, get out we're gonna do quick sketches, and we're like, oh, okay. And he, like, walks over to us, and you can see that we're totally lost.
Yeah.
You can just tell that we're totally lost. And we're just like, we're not, and he's just like, okay, so just get out your pencils and get ready to go. And we're like, oh, okay. And so then he goes and he calls roll, and we're on the roll, so we know we're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And so we're like,
okay,
okay,
I guess we're gonna do it.
And so then, like, he doesn't say anything to us. Basically, he's just like, have you had any experience? We're like, no. He's like, any formal training at all? We're like, no. And he's like, all right, good luck. And so then we go, and, like, what we did the first day was we did, like, quick sketches, so it was, like, a minute of, like, one pose, and then you'd switch and do
I did those
pose.
in my
and it was like
class,
a lot,
yeah.
and so then, like, we're, like, struggling to keep up, and then he's like, all right, done, after, like, 5 minutes or something, and he, like, comes over and looks at ours, and he's just like, these aren't good. And we're like, yeah, no, we know. Like, yeah, it was, like, basically that. And so then what we did for, like, the last 2 was he said, use your non-dominant hand.
And I look at me, I'm like, no.
Absolutely not. And, like, he looks at them, and he's like, are these your non-dominant hand ones? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, this is what I want it to look like. And we're like,
oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, and then the worst, like, not the worst part, but, like, probably to me the funniest part.
Are you guys
like,
just laughing? Like,
we're finally, like, getting used to like, you know, having a man standing right there.
It's fun, like, too. I mean, it was, like, stressful, but it was so fun. We were just thrust into it, like, literally.
Like, and so we're doing, like, a long sketch now, and he, like, comes over to me at, like, halfway through. Like, we take a break. It was, like, I think it was, like, supposed to be, like, an hour long, and you take a break at 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so we take a break, and he comes over and looks at mine, and, you know, he's, like, critiquing everybody. And he comes over and looks at mine, and he just goes, no, just start over. I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, just start over. It's like, yeah, it sounds about right.
Oh
And just like
my
ripped it off.
goodness.
He literally just he was just like, no, start over. Like you have like nothing. He's like, your proportions are off, so just start over. And we were like 30 minutes into the thing, and that was crazy. And also like the model would come around
Like,
during
look.
breaks.
What?
He would come around and look at everyone's thing.
What?
So he comes to try to look at mine, and I was like, no. I like rip it over. I'm like, no,
Is he still
you
completely
don't want to
naked when
see
he's
Yeah.
walking around? What the? He did no
Yeah.
robe, nothing.
He'll like sometimes he'll put on his boxers. but,
Sometimes.
like, most of the time he'll literally just like.
He was hot too,
Yeah,
which
he
was like,
really cute.
so it was like even worse. I was like, you look so bad in this. But like 8th grade, you look so bad in this.
The teacher said he was like, you made him fat in this. And the guy wanted to look. I was like, no. Like, don't look.
Oh my god.
Wow.
So that was the classes, and then
They were fun.
and
That
then
sounds great, yeah.
I think the other best part of Florence was we went to this bar. It's called Red Garter, and it was like in the front. It was a very weird bar. In the front, it was like a bar and like nightclub vibe again.
Yeah.
Where like everyone's super super close and like dancing and grinding on each other. But
Different
then you
than
push
Dublin?
through.
Very different?
Yeah.
More intense
Yeah.
Okay.
than that club because Italian men are, I'll say, forward.
Yeah.
Italian men are super forward, so like they'll like a couple times like they'll grab your hair.
Yeah, they will
Yeah.
literally just pull your hair
They'll-
while you're walking by.
Yeah, and like that kind of stuff.
Very,
so
very
kind of-
touchy.
so it's like you have to kind of get your way through
yeah,
that like
so,
club.
so we're like pushing through because in the back it's karaoke.
Oh, okay.
and a stage
That-
and a
yeah.
guy who plays guitar with
Nice.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
it's like it's either like the first night we went it was locals,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went again and it was like abroad students. Like it was a lot of Americans. But so that first night we were there, you know, like we were kind of nervous. There weren't a lot of people, so we were just watching. And then like these two girls went up and sang this song that Kaylee really likes.
Oh, okay.
And so we were like hyping them up, you know,
Yeah,
like we were
yeah.
next to the
No
stage, we were like,
way.
and then like we went and then we met back up with them. So this was kind of like where we met them. And we went to the bar and this one guy like pulled me to like dance on him. Like as I'm walking by.
Like Dublin almost.
Yeah, like they'll literally just like snake their arm around you and
Oh
just
my
like
goodness. You're like,
pulling
what?
you in.
How'd
And
that
I'm
get
like, I was
there?
like, oh, no,
Yeah.
that's okay. And he was like, can I buy you a drink? I was like, sure. And he was like, what do you want? I was like, I just want a shot. And he was like, okay, like one shot. I was like, you're not gonna take a shot? And he's like, no, I'm just buying it for you. I was like,
Ooh.
okay,
Red
that-
flag.
I was like, that's super weird.
Yeah.
So like the bartender hears this, so I like look at him and he like kind of like, you know,
Acknowledge
nods at
it,
me
yeah.
and he like hands it to me like literally he like doesn't put it down on the bar. He literally like hands it to me.
Oh, that's a sign. He's like,
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then like he does that, and then the guy was so weird. Like it was, probably he was the worst experience there because it was like I took the shot and it was like, it was like the tequila shot, so you
Yeah.
end with the lime, and
Yeah.
like I took the lime and he literally just like grabbed my head and just like kissed me, and I was like,
What
oh,
the?
okay, thank you. And then like Pat and Kaylee come. So Pat was one of the girls that was singing earlier.
Yeah.
And she comes
We've been
over.
talking.
Yeah,
So we're
she
like,
comes
let's find
Y'all are
Emmy.
homies now.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
comes over and Pat goes, okay, so where's my drink? Where's our drink? And he was like, no, just for her, just for her. And Pat's like, no, what about me? We're her friends.
Exactly.
and
he's like, just my dance partner.
Just my dance partner, like just her. And I was like, okay. So then they keep trying to like take me away from him because
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't fucking want to be here
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
And then like he will not like let go. He literally is like physically grabbing my wrist. And so Pat is like, okay, we gotta get
Yeah,
this
y'all
bitch
just
out
gotta
of here.
fucking like, yeah.
So like Kaylee and Pat like grab my arm and they start
Oh
like
my goodness, you guys have
pulling
to
me to the
fight.
bathroom, and Pat like grabs this man's hand and like rips us apart, and she like looks him in the face. She's like, I need to go, like I'm having my period. I need her. We gotta go to the bathroom. And she
She's
tries
like,
to
I need a tampon.
Yeah, she's
I gotta plug it up. And
Every
he's like,
word,
no, I
every
need
word
her.
that
so
you squirm
uncomfortable.
at.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah.
make him so
She's
uncomfortable,
like,
being like,
"Ooh,
I'm bleeding
tampon,
out of my
period."
vagina. We need to go. And so like like he follows us to the bathroom.
What
Is
the
waiting
fuck?
outside the bathroom, and
Oh
Pat
my
like drags
goodness.
me into the bathroom, and it's me, Pat, and Kaylee. and this other girl's washing her hands, and Pat goes, "Do you speak English? Okay, good. We need to make this bitch look like another bitch." And we're like,
and this girl, her name's Gianna, and we're like, "Oh, hey," she's like, "Oh, hey, I'm study abroad. I'm from New York." And we were like,
Oh,
"Oh, man." We're
nice.
like, "Do you want to come dance with us?" And she was like, "Sure."
they huddle me out. Like, have you ever seen like Zack and Cody, like Mr. Tipton?
Yeah.
It was literally that. They're like hiding me, and then Pat starts screaming at the guy,
Oh, my
and he
goodness.
starts like saying like, what did he say? He was
He was like, "I have no respect
Yeah.
for you," and she's like, she's just like, "Get it?" Like she was a very like forward person.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah.
loved her.
Yeah, she was the best. And so then we met her friend, the one that she was singing with,
Yeah.
Nani. And then we like had this little group of girls, and
We were all
like, we were all
dancing.
dancing. And then the guy kept like
Oh my
huddling
goodness.
around, like he literally would like stand behind me
Yeah.
and like just stand like a couple feet, and then every now and then like inch closer
Oh
and like
my
try to get in.
goodness.
And then at that point, you know, like they just pull me across the circle and
Yeah.
go to the other side, and then he comes around. It was like insane. And then after like a while, you know, bar closed and we were hanging outside, he was still hanging around. Like he asked for my picture, like super
Very
weird.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he followed us home.
Yeah, he
What?
did. Yeah. He felt, but we like
What we did was we stopped.
we
to see,
stopped
like,
and just looked at him
Yeah.
as he like walked away. We were like,
to make sure he went in front of us.
yeah,
he
because
eventually
it was
left?
crazy. Yeah,
Okay.
and like that was our first Italian club, and we were like, okay, so this is just like not what all the clubs are like. Wrong, but like
Wow.
we met like Gianna and Pat and Nani, and Gianna was kind of like, I think she was more like not trying to make like she was just
Right.
trying to like have
Party.
fun that
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
But Pat, Nani, and me and Emmy were like, let's go out tomorrow night, all of us,
Oh,
because
nice,
we
yeah.
loved them.
Yeah.
And so they were like,
So
Nani was
cool.
like, come over to my apartment,
Yeah.
and we'll have pre-drinks like before we go to like this new club or
Yeah.
like this really nice club. And we were like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
like
Awesome.
let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah, you make
And so
friends,
we
yeah.
go to her. That was so fun because we like wanted
And
friends.
that's like all we were talking about on like
I know.
the next day. We were walking to class and we're like, we'd be like silent for a few seconds and we'd be like, oh my god, we love Pat and Nani.
I know. It was so cute.
This is the first time where you like went out and made friends.
Yes,
Like,
and
yeah.
you know, I'm thinking like if we had not been there, we wouldn't have like met them. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have had. It really changed our experience in Florence.
Yeah.
Like if we, and I'm saying like if we had like friends our age in like the other places we had gone to, like
Yeah.
I think it would have been different.
Yeah.
And so we go to their house. We're having a great time, and Nani's like, "Oh, my friend Jakob is my boyfriend, and he's going to like this club tonight with all of his friends for one of their friends' birthdays.
Yeah.
So like let's go, you guys can come to this club."
Awesome.
This club is like a super fancy club on like the outskirts of Florence, and we
Wow.
like drive there like with his friends, and we're in the car with like all of his friends, and they took a separate car, like Pat and
Yeah.
Nani and them, and I just look at Emmy and I'm like, was this a good decision?
Yeah.
Or but
so
like
weird,
we
yeah.
really like trusted all of them
Yeah.
because I don't know, it was just like Pat and Nani were like,
nice,
get
yeah.
them there safe and like all this stuff.
Okay,
So we
They
pull up
also
at this
didn't
club.
Speak, like, any English.
Oh no, they didn't speak English. Yeah, it
Very
was like
awkward car ride.
yeah, and so
Interesting.
and so basically we get to the club and I don't know what happened, but there's a huge line to the club, and we just get like snuck through this back door and we're in the club,
You got,
and
like,
we didn't pay
VIP
anything.
access.
I don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
But we get in, and it's like the one thing. It's just like the word that comes to mind is like prostitution. Like this is where the
Yeah.
prostitutes hang out, as in like it was just a huge club, black leather couches, like a balcony outside. There was like red light everywhere. It was just so
Dang.
nice. Like it
Yeah.
was
And
super.
there's like basically it's a huge club, and there's like 3 different rooms like in the club. There's
Wow.
like a bigger like room where there's dancers, and then there's a really really small room, and then there's like a huge fucking room. Like
we were in the VIP.
yeah, we were in like the VIP.
Which
You
is
guys
so
literally
funny.
had some weird VIP access.
Yes,
You didn't even know you
how?
were
I don't
getting.
know.
like you literally would stand there and you're like, okay, so she's being bought right now, and that
Yes.
guy's like
Yes.
on drugs. Like it was very
crazy.
weird. Yeah.
Is this the club where you said there was like a group of dudes that were just like sitting and like taking money or something, or
No.
or what was it like you, or they would just throw money? Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, it wasn't like a strip club.
No.
No,
But there
not like
were-
that, not
well,
like that.
there
There
were,
was
like-
a bunch of like men in suits that like if you went and like danced with them.
Oh, okay. We know what
that was another
different
club.
one.
So
Oh, that was a
later,
different
but later,
club.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
But
I know
what the significance at this club is Emmy lost her phone, and we were looking all over the floor. Me and Pat were looking all over the floor trying to find it, and I'm standing on this couch, but I'm still trying to have a good time. You know, we're at a club, so I'm like, okay, Pat, let's take a break. Like, come dance with me on this couch. So we're like, you know, and then this guy just like pushes me over, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck? And he just like projectile vomits behind the couch where I was just standing, and I was like, you good, bro? Like, what's up? And I'm like trying to like help him, but he's just out like still vomiting. And this girl comes over, and she's like trying to help him and stuff, but she doesn't speak much English either. And I'm like, I take my water bottle out. I had a water bottle, and I give it to her, and I'm like, drink it, like make sure he drinks it. And she
also like I think something that's like very important about the story, at least to me, is like I was there with her, and like slowly in Italian is lentamente. So I kept screaming, and I told Kaylee, I was like, say slowly, like scream like lentamente to them. Yeah. And so we're like in her face like lentamente. Si, capisco, capisco.
And then she just pours the water on his head. And she's like, and I'm like, and then she comes up to me and she goes, I'm gonna get some water for him. I was like, oh, okay. And then she brings it back, and we're like slowly, and she just gives it to him, and he just chugs it, and then projectile vomits again. And I was like, yeah, okay, like this is not my problem anymore. So Pat was like, let's just leave, because like this is not our problem anymore. Yeah. So it wasn't.
We like told the security guard, and then like we left.
Yeah, and then we left. But it was crazy because there were some people who just passed out at that club. Like, I don't know.
You just see somebody on the couch, and you're like, are they dead? Yeah. They literally look dead.
Oh my goodness.
But what I did like about that club was since it was super like a lot of, I don't know, rich people, and it had like a better, I don't know, more, I don't know, like safer vibe. Like there weren't like guys always trying to like get with you.
It was very
which was the craziest. It was very
like security guards at every like door kind of.
Who could like help you, and there were medics and like all this stuff. But that was a funny club.
I lost my phone.
That was
really bad.
That was pretty harsh.
It's a long story, but not that important.
Anyway, you've eventually, did you get a new phone? You got a new phone on the trip.
We ordered it in the US, and then they held it at customs, and then charged me 78 euros because they held it at customs.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God they held it and didn't just send it to you.
It was so good that it wasn't like drugs or anything. They could have,
And the day her phone came, we got locked out of our apartment for like hours, and that was
also really funny because we lived on a floor where, so in like most of the Italian like apartments, they're super small. It's literally like a staircase, and like each floor is one apartment or like two apartments. Yeah. And so like we lived next to our landlord, so we got locked out, and so we're like, fuck. So we're banging on our landlord's door and like ringing the doorbell, like holding down this doorbell, and nothing's happening. So we're just like, okay, they're not home. Yeah. So we just keep knocking on the door, And then finally we get in touch with our landlord, and she says, oh, okay, like my husband will be there in 20 minutes to let you in. So we're thinking like, okay, he's gonna come from work. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was inside the whole time, like, and just opens the door, and like totally like he just woke up. And he just looks at us and just like opens the door and then goes back.
We were out there for hours.
And it was so cold
believe it.
Too.
It was so cold.
Because we were going out to get cash because like the whole phone thing, they were like, you have to pay in cash when they deliver it. Like they don't have a card reader. And so I couldn't get cash, so Kaylee had to go get cash, so I was going with her. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was like we had literally been up all night. Because, like, what happened in Italy is our sleep schedule got so messed up because, like, we weren't really doing anything other than classes. Yeah. So, like, we would go and, like, what Italians do is they basically start their night at, like, 11 and then end their night at, like, 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. So we'd, like, get home around, like, 6 a.m.
Go to bed at 8.
Go to bed at, like, 8 a.m.
Wake up at, like, 5.
Yeah.
And that's a normal schedule in Italy?
And then go to the club again. It's a vicious cycle because it's so much fun, but, like, it's...
So that was my schedule over winter break.
Yeah. That's basically why.
And it's horrible when you get into it because you can't flip it. You can't. It's so hard to get rid of it.
We were so tired, so it was again, like, I feel like so many of these experiences that we have are like things that you would see on like sitcoms.
It really does kind of seem like that. It's just like
past, everything. Like, the second the door closed, like it's literally like this close to closing, and I go, "Do you have a key?" And then it closes.
I just want to
oh my goodness.
I just want to go and like recreate all of these moments.
In like video form
Yeah.
or something, and like just record it. Yeah.
I think like there are two more notable times in Florence. The first one was we went to this hookah bar with our friend Pat and Nani because it was Pat's last night. She was going back home, and so we're all at this hookah bar, and you know, we're there very late. It's one of those places where you go in, like a casino. You go in and then you don't know what time it is, and you end up leaving really late. So it's probably like 3 a.m. and the place is closing. Yeah. But the manager of the place has been like at our table, like giving us all these like free wine, free like whatever. So we're just there and we're just hanging out, and we're like, this is a great time. We're all dancing with everyone, and we are talking. We're all sitting at the table, and there's no one else there. And this guy comes over and is sits down at the table with us. And anyways, we're all just talking like all this stuff, and then he just like is laughing, like he's clearly like
belligerent.
Yeah, like he's on something or just so drunk. And I'm like, ha ha ha. And I like look at everyone else and I'm like, who is this guy? And so like I look at Nani, and Nani leans over, or someone leans over and is like, and asks the manager guy. He's like, does he work here? And the manager goes, no, I thought you knew him. And we were like, wait, no one knows who this guy is.
It's after hours. Yeah. Oh my god.
So he's just sitting there, and then he's just like, and he's doing the hookah, and he's like, and then all of a sudden he just
fish face bubble.
Yes, exactly.
For the audio.
And then we're just like laughing, and all of a sudden I have video of this too. All of a sudden he just leans across like my legs and like puts his arms on them, and he's just staring like straight ahead, and he just starts making like Cookie Monster sounds. He's like ma la la la, and I'm like holding the camera. I'm like on the floor laughing, and then he just like stops and he gets up from the table and he just leaves.
Like it's one of those moments where you have to like see the video to understand what the fuck we're talking about, because it sounds like just such a weird experience, and the fact that Kaylee got it on camera like
is the
Can you hear him going?
Yes, you can hear him go.
when that does the like like the camera like he just is shocked
because I'm not even like I'm just like.
And you just see Nani, like, she's just like...
Oh my god.
Like,
wait, could you play it, like, for the audio, for the podcast, maybe?
I don't know if I have it. Let me try to find it while we
oh my
continue.
God, yeah, yes. So it was just like... Yeah, I was just laughing.
That is,
and then we hung out a bit more, and then we left, and Pat went back home, and then Nani had school, so we had to, like... We were also really close to leaving at this point.
Yeah.
And the next thing we were gonna do was like at the end of Florence, it kind of marked like the last leg of our trip. Yeah. Because then the rest of our trip was like quick traveling. It was we were going to Rome for literally like 2 days, Athens for 2 days, and then Scotland for like 4 days, and then Dublin for like 4 days.
So it was mostly quick like touristy things for the last few kind of days.
Yeah.
Like, so the bulk of the stories obviously come from like Florence.
Yeah. Like I don't think like nothing really happened in Rome, nothing really happened in Greece. It was kind of like Scotland that things started
because
we
didn't really go out and stuff like that. I can't find the video, but maybe we can find it later.
Yes. All right, so we found the what's it called? We found the video of the guy hookah bar. Yeah, laying down.
Yeah. Okay. So it's this one and this one. So that's one video of him.
What?
And then this is when he...
What the
And that's when he leaned over me and went... like, this is the... like, that's me filming it, because I'm like this. I'm like...
Wow, that is magnificent.
Yeah, insane. Really crazy. But the last thing in Florence was we went to this club one of the last nights. Yeah. It was called Babylon, and it was right like in the city. Yeah. And it was like, so it's a very, I don't know, they played like American rap music. Like it's a very like study abroad kind of place to be. But that club was the place where like the men were the most insane. Like
Which is weird because it had the most security.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
there
so,
were a lot
but
of
they just
security.
didn't. I don't know. There was this one guy in this gray shirt who followed us around the entire time we were there.
Wow, so it's like a common problem as like throughout.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, the
It's-
men like really were just
In Italy.
like they really were like, I don't want to say it, but they were really just like awful. Like
Yeah.
they were really just horrible. Like the first way back at Red Garter, like the first experience I had with this guy, like I was chatting with him and then
Yeah.
he was like, "Can we like go?" And I was like, "Go?" And he's like, "Yeah, like you want to go back to my apartment?" I was like, "Bro, I don't even know your name."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm with my friend and he's like, "Your friend can come." I was like, "Okay."
Your friend can come.
I was like,
Yeah.
Like, no. And it's just, like,
okay.
I was trying to like be nice. Like at the time, I hadn't really like, I guess, gathered
you weren't,
the
like,
confidence
in
to
the-
like
to
say
be like,
like
hell
to, like,
no.
push
Yeah,
him
get
away.
away.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was trying to be nice and I was trying to like chat with him, but like
You can't be
you
nice.
can't like you also like you
You
cannot
can't be
talk to
mean,
them.
yeah.
Like they literally are just like. He literally like wouldn't look me in the eyes. Like he was so like you could tell that he was literally like sexually frustrated just standing there talking to me. And I was like, okay, this is
Wow.
so uncomfortable. Like I'm gonna go. And he's like, no,
Yeah.
no, stay. I was like, no, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll buy you a drink. I was like, no, seriously, like I'm gonna go back to my friend. Like it's okay. He's like, let's go outside. I was like, no, like
Yeah.
seriously, I'm saying no. Leave it at that. And,
Yeah.
like they don't get that.
Wow.
This the guy, I think that Babylon was one of the last clubs we went to. So
Yeah.
at this point I was like completely done with this shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't like, just a personal choice is I don't like to like grind with people because I'm going to a club, I'm going to like dance.
Yeah.
And like I can't dance if we're like just moving very slowly. Like I can't, like that's not like, you know what I mean? So like I like to, dance and stuff. So I'm not trying to, and if a girl wants to dance with you, like she'll
She'll do it.
It's just, it was so weird. And so like I'm just dancing, I'm doing my shit, so I'm like used to like elbowing guys off and like that kind of stuff. And this like one guy in a gray shirt is just following us around. Every time you put your hands up, he'd grab your
you told me about
hand,
this guy,
which
yeah.
was like, that was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I'd never heard like I don't know, I've just never like, that was just like a crazy thing.
That was the weirdest.
It's so bold, like what a bold move.
Like he
Yeah.
just pull
Yeah.
you towards him,
Yeah.
over people. Like if you put
Yes.
your hands up, he'll reach
Yes.
over like two people
That's
and just
so
try to like
And just
weird.
grab it. It was so
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
This was also the place that you were mentioning. So
Oh,
there's
yeah,
like
yeah,
a VIP area with
Oh,
just,
yeah.
a bunch of
Mhm.
Asians. That
Yeah.
was just like shelling out money
Yeah,
the entire
it was
night.
someone's birthday, I think.
Yeah,
That's
like
so
we were.
weird.
So basically, they were like, it was like the floor, and then there was like a step up, and that was like where the DJ booth was, and then
Yeah.
right next to it was a VIP, like a VIP
Yeah,
area, and that's
I
where
mean,
we were.
it was like,
And,
a couple feet.
Like yeah,
Like,
it was
not-
like this big.
Yeah.
And at one point in the night, the like they'll like bring drinks and stuff.
Yeah.
And so like at one point I see one of the bartenders come with like the card reader,
Yeah.
and it says like 600 euro on it, and I lean over to Kaylee, I'm like, bro,
Dang.
these guys like they're at like 600 euro, and it was only like midnight.
Yeah, I mean, they were
Like,
just
Handing
starting.
out these
Like
drinks.
they would basically
Yeah,
like,
they would
they'd
get
bring
girls up onto the thing to just like dance with. They were like more
Yeah.
nice. It wasn't
They
like
were pretty nice,
They were
yeah.
just like they were just like, come on, like they just wanted girls to hang out with
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah, and so they'd like just like pour, like they'd get like a huge thing of champagne,
Yeah.
pour like a bunch of glasses.
Yeah, and then everyone
And
would
then-
get the glasses.
yeah.
So it was yes,
It
that was
really
nice.
fun.
That's
Yeah.
really interesting. That's weird, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
I mean, I think it's pretty like common at clubs to like, I don't know, to do that.
I guess it's
where
like
you
buying
get-
for everyone.
Yeah,
just, like, having
exactly.
fun.
And they
Yeah.
were rich.
Yeah,
for
they
sure.
were
Yeah.
really. And there's this one dude. I don't know if he had like a girlfriend or something, but all he was doing was hyping up his homies. It was so
Yeah,
cute.
yeah.
Like, he'd like bring girls
Yeah.
and then like put them on like his friend, and
He'd
he'd
be like,
Did you meet this guy? Yeah, it was so funny. But yeah. And so anyways, at one point we ended up on the we were on the VIP thing. It was very like blurred lines, whatever. There's this like bouncer who's kind of standing like in the crowd or
Yeah.
whatever. And there's been this other guy, not in a gray shirt, but this like, I don't know, this guy who's like so out of it, like just unbelievably fucked up. And like he's been trying to like, like dance with us the entire time.
Yeah.
And I've like
Been
to this
elbowing
guy,
him, yeah.
no, but like to this guy, like I've physically like been pushing him and being
Okay.
like, "Can you get the fuck out of here? Like
nice.
like leave."
Yeah.
And that's what you have to like sometimes
gotta
do
do it,
to
yeah,
people.
yeah.
And like and I'm like yelling at these people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what you have to do. And so because they'll like you'll yell at them and then they'll make a loop around and like come back.
And they'll be like, I
they're
win, I win.
They're like
So
they're
dumb.
like she won't recognize me.
Oh my
Like,
god.
it's like,
He comes back with a mustache? That was my cousin.
bro, they literally have like drunk people have this look where
Yeah,
they
it's like
just
this.
look so, they look so out of it and so lost. And so you can tell like how drunk somebody is just based on their face.
Yeah.
So like it's past the point of like woohoo and to this just like
Yeah, you're like dead
Zombified,
inside.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like zombie. So funny enough, it was masquerade night at this club.
Yeah.
So the guy who had been following us put on a mask, and I'm up in the VIP section, and I see him at the corner of my eye. I'm like, bro, I recognize it. Like so I'm like elbowing him, and I'm dancing to like I literally think it was like the Black Eyed Peas. Like I think they were playing a really bad remix, but I'm with Nani, and we're dancing up there, and this man tries to insert a finger inside of me, and I was like,
What the?
oh, okay, so obviously, right, so obviously I turn around and I fucking, I push him off of the ledge, and I'm like, I'm fucking screaming at him like, what the and I like push him off the ledge, and the bouncer comes over to me. He's like, whoa, keep it cool, and Nani like steps in for me, and she's like, keep it cool, he just fucking assaulted, and like it was this whole thing where the guy was like, oh, okay, my bad, like I didn't know, but he was like, keep it cool, like, or otherwise I'm gonna have to like kick you out, and I was like,
goodness.
bro, I didn't even push him that hard.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And he had it fucking coming.
And his friend who knew how fucked up, his friend walks by me and he was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, okay. I was like, maybe don't let your friend get that fucking drunk, or like, it was just like,
Or
it
don't
was,
have that friend. I mean,
yeah, for
that's
real.
like-
It was just, it was literally so
it's
stupid.
like they think that like being like sorry about my friend is like okay.
It's like, okay.
I know. It's like, oh well, I guess he had a friend that was at least saying sorry.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was the worst of the like
Yeah,
the shit.
understandable.
Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah,
Damn.
right. It's fucked up. But that's just like the club culture. Like that's what it is over there.
It sounds like you guys had like a lot of fun in like Italy's clubs and stuff, but it was also the craziest in the good ways and the bad.
Yeah, because it's fun to go to the clubs because like when you're just dancing and everything.
And when you're with your friends,
Yes.
it's so fun.
But it's just everything else that kind of factors into it. That's like.
I think like I also think like we definitely would have stayed there longer, but I think like it was like a perfect like just time, like like we fucked up our sleep schedule for like a couple weeks, and then like we got on and kept doing stuff. So like I don't think I could like do that every single weekend.
No, like the study abroad kids, I don't know how they would do that.
Yeah.
Plus they have classes, so I don't get that.
But yeah,
I mean,
it
even
was
at
fun
school,
all
some
over.
kids party every night. It's like, how the hell do
Yeah,
you
it's
do
like,
that
how do
shit?
you do that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
So we got to Scotland and we love ghost tours.
Oh
my-
Like love them. And we went on this one and it was just like everything about the tour was fantastic. It was like just the location that we went, the tour guide was so funny. He
Yeah.
was this like eccentric, mean gay guy.
Yeah.
And like like just such a character.
And he would just make fun of us the whole time.
Like, yeah, we were
Because
like the
you're
only
American,
Americans.
yeah.
So and like we like went and got fries beforehand.
Yeah.
And so we like walked up and he was like, what are you doing? And we're like, eating? He's like, that is so fucking disgusting. Like, what is it?
Yeah, he's like, are you guys Americans? We were like, yeah. He's like, of course. And then later I coughed. And he turns around and he was like, oof. That was lovely, wasn't it?
Oh my
Everyone's gonna want to hook up with you, right? And I was like,
there's this like group of like Australian guys that were also on the tour, and he like would make sex jokes to like us, and like at one point one of the guys like came and stood next to me, like just like as we're in a group, and the guy's like, okay guys, like chill out.
he's like, this is not like a hookup thing. This is a ghost story. People died, okay? He's like, people were murdered here. Yeah.
And the ghost tour was crazy, like.
Craziest one I've
Best
ever
ghost
been
tour
on.
I've ever been
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Wow, nice.
100%. Like, cause just like the history is just so interesting.
Yeah,
And,
especially
like,
and old in
Yeah,
Scotland.
and you're like you're standing in these rooms and like he's telling you he's like, I mean they're horrible, awful stories.
Yeah.
But like you're very like in the
it.
moment,
You're
and you're
like,
like, wow,
ooh.
like that's insane. And like he'll say shit, and you're like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
there
You
is
feel
the
haunted?
last room that like we went in. He said like before we go in, he said like girls on the left and men on the right. That's all he said. And so we all stood, and it was like the woman stood in like this weird position, and then the men stood in this weird position. And he like walked in, and like his back was kind of turned to all of us, and he said like every single time I come in this room, the women stand exactly the same way and the men stand exactly the same way, and they always like avoid these two corners basically. So it was like, to kind of explain, it was like a square room, and the women were curved like this.
Yeah.
And so the door was here, and then the men were straight right here. So no one was in this corner, and no one was in this corner.
Yeah. It
And
sounds
so,
hard
like,
to explain over
yeah,
audio.
yeah,
But there were
it's
corners
weird.
that people were
Basically-
avoiding.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like
Yeah.
two opposite corners of the room that people were avoiding, and he was like, the only two murders that happened in this room were in those two corners. And like he hadn't said anything beforehand, but like when you walked in, like people had avoided those, and like you're like, oh my god, and then he like
Yeah.
explained like what happened, like so, like it was
Was it like in a castle?
Scotland basically it's basically a bridge. Like the streets are a bridge. So what they did was they dug out the like bottom of the street. So you walk down. It's kind of hard to explain. It's like you walk down there's the main street that goes like up like a bridge.
Yeah.
And then you have streets that go outside and down. And so you go down one of those, and then you go up like a spiral staircase, but now you're under the street.
Oh, okay.
It's like a street
yeah.
under the street, so
Yeah.
it's like a second level.
Yeah,
of the
it's
street.
where like all the
Interesting.
like lower class people live.
So it's underground,
Yeah.
but it's,
it's
like
like
a full street.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's super weird.
Yeah.
But that was like where all the poor people lived, and so there's a lot of history there because like hundreds of thousands of people were just like crammed in there.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, I mean, it was the most real ghost story I've ever been on because, like, not only all the stories, and it's just Scotland
They're
is so
real
much
stories,
history.
yeah.
But he was just talking about, he was like, well, I don't know how this got out. Like, it wasn't supposed to be on public record. And he was like, but I just have to tell you guys that, like, a boy died on my tour, like, 2 years ago. And he was like,
Whoa.
because he was... we were in this, he just basically was telling a story about how we were in this room, and he was like, I told people, like, if you want to go into the circle, whatever, like, you can go into this circle, but it's not, like, it's supposed to have bad energy, like, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, like, what was happening, and he said that the boy, like, stepped into the circle and was, like, making fun of all this stuff, and then he just died. Like, he just had a seizure and
like,
died.
What?
But all the medical records are, like his back was broken in like multiple places, had scratches, like all this stuff, and he was like, yeah, it was crazy, and the guy, I was like, did that really like happen? And the guy was like, yeah. He's like, I remember on the tour, I didn't like the kid because he was like calling me like a fag and all this stuff, but like he was like, his mom, I remember talking to his mom, and his mom was like, how do I call like my husband and tell him that like my kid's dead? Like, isn't that insane?
Yeah.
And he had to like, the reason he was telling us was because like he had to go to court and testify.
Yeah,
Because
because they were
of
trying
his
to, because his mom was like trying to sue,
Yeah.
and he was like, I did nothing. Like your son like stepped into this like circle and stuff. It was really crazy.
What?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
One girl on the tour like almost passed out.
Yeah. And the guy like was straight up. He was like, this is the spirits. He was like, I don't care if you believe in the ghosts or not.
Yeah.
This is the ghosts trying to get to you. So I need you to just calm yourself down. He's like, just sing Katy Perry songs or
Yeah,
whatever.
it was super crazy. Like the girl was like, what was happening was she was standing next to me. Like Kaylee and I like separated a lot during the tour. But the girl was sitting next to me, and she started like hyperventilating, and she was talking to like her friend, and they were talking like German, and so the guy was like, can you please stop talking, like I'm trying to like give this tour. And she was like, I just don't feel well, like I think I'm gonna pass out. And she was like sweating, and she was totally pale, and she started like freaking out, and she was like hyperventilating and like talking really fast. And he had her like sit down, and then he like got really close to her face and was like, I don't want to scare you, but like these are the ghosts like fucking with you.
And he was
like,
dead
yeah,
ass.
and he was like I sing Katy Perry when I'm down here alone, like closing up, because it's like
that must be
he's like after
terrifying.
every room he has to like blow the candle out.
Yeah.
So at the end of like the last tour he has to like stay and like do it, and so he was like, just sing Katy Perry, like ignore it.
Yeah,
and then,
it was
like,
crazy.
He let us like come with him to like blow out all the candles.
Did you guys feel anything?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know like about you. I think we probably felt about the same, but I've been on a lot of like ghost tours before of like haunted places in the U.S., but obviously like Europe has so much more history.
Yeah.
And in the second we walked into that place, I felt something before we had even heard the stories. I just felt like heavy, and I don't like, I believe in ghosts, but I don't get scared on ghost tours and stuff like that. Like, it's just not like, I'm not scared.
Yeah.
But like we walked into this one room, and I was like having a hard time, like I was dizzy and like all of this stuff, and I just wanted to leave the room, and I was like, and the guy after I was dizzy and everything, he was like, oh yeah, and this is the room where a lot of people feel super sick, and I was like, yeah. Me.
And I'm like much more of a skeptic than like Kaylee.
Yeah.
Like I I have like I love the stories and I love going on the tours, but like I'm a huge skeptic. But like literally stepping into those rooms, like you're like, okay, like there's like a weird just vibe here. Like you feel like somebody's like sitting on your chest.
Yeah.
And you just feel like colder, even though like you were fine 2 seconds ago. It's very weird.
Would you say it enhanced your belief?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I think like with that, a lot of it also had to do with like the way that he was like telling the stories.
Yeah.
Because that's always like a huge thing. Like because the ones that we go on, like we go on the same one every year in St. Augustine, and I think like what makes those great is they're very theatrical.
Yeah.
But like this was more real than
It was, like,
theatrical.
legit.
Where he was like, I don't care if you guys believe in ghosts or not. Like this happened.
These
here.
were murders.
Yeah. Like these were real
yeah.
people.
What?
And like
even if you don't believe that they're like spirits still linger,
This
like
stuff happened
this stuff
here.
happened, and like that's like just the truth.
What's that tour called? Because that sounds, if I ever go to
It was
Scotland.
like it was like ghost tour. It was the only 18+ one. That's what I
Okay.
know. So like,
and it was basically just, I think if you just, I mean, there's not a lot of ghost tours that take you through the actual Royal Mile. So it's just like the Royal Mile ghost tour, and
Where in Scotland?
in Edinburgh, yeah.
Oh,
It's like right underneath the streets. It's so it was crazy.
it was.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
really insane.
That definitely sounds like something you got to check out if you go to
Yeah.
Scotland.
Yeah,
Damn.
for sure.
Unless you're easily spooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. Well,
Yeah.
all right. I mean, after Scotland, you went back to Dublin. And is that when you went on the
Escape boat.
escape room?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
Okay, so
And that's
so good.
that's probably a good way to what
Yeah.
let's-
to finish this out. Yeah. So we went back to Dublin, and we didn't stay with our friends because we were like,
They were in the middle of exams.
yeah, they were in the middle of exams, and also we'd already stayed with them. We'd already made them pick us
Yeah.
up from the airport, whatever.
Yeah.
We knew way more now than
Yeah.
than
You're
we
more
did before.
experienced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we just got a cab and we went to this Airbnb and we stayed in Dublin. And the first couple nights, we're having a good time, and we decided that we wanted to go on an escape boat.
Yeah.
But they're like expensive, and the more people you have, the less expensive it is
Yeah.
per person.
Like an escape room.
Right.
but on a boat.
But our friends were like, oh, we're busy with exams, so like they couldn't come with us.
Yeah.
So I had the idea where I was like, why don't we just go on Tinder and just ask people if they want to go on an escape boat with us tomorrow. Yeah. And so after about 2 hours on Tinder, we found this guy named Sean who was like, oh yeah, everyone's busy with exams. He was a college student like in Dublin. He was like, but I'd love to. Like, I love meeting new people. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, bet.
Yeah.
And then we go to a comedy club that night, the night before we're supposed to go.
Yeah.
And we're at this comedy club, and it was really fun. And he asks like where the Americans are from, and this guy behind us goes, "Oh, Washington D.C." And we turn around and we're like, "Oh, that's where we're from."
Yeah.
And so his name was also Sean,
Hey.
and I was like, "Is this legal? Like, can we take 2 Seans on an escape boat, or is this bad luck?" And so we're like, "Do you want to go on an escape boat with us tomorrow?" And he was like, "Yes, like let's do it."
Yeah.
And so we're like, "Okay, cool." So these 2 Seans,
Yes.
one of them we've never talked to really, and one of them we've never met.
Do they spell it the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, they spelled it, yeah. And so we get to the escape boat, and we, I don't know, it was nice. We all just met each other, and we were like, all right, let's do this. And so we get on the boat, we're all, like, having a good time, trying to get out, and the boat was just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The boat was just like, I mean, we love escape rooms, so, like, we've done a lot, and this one was, like, you go in to, like, do the whole, like, rules, they talk about the locks and all that stuff, and it was, like, in, like, where they steer the boat, and it was super, super tiny, like, literally the size of this couch.
The entire room?
Yeah, it was literally, like, this
Dang.
couch, and then to, like, here, and then, like,
Oh,
that
dang,
was
that's
it.
crazy.
And so then, like, after he gives us the whole spiel, we're like, okay, well, then how we get on the boat?
Yeah.
He literally opens a cabinet, and it's just, like, a stairway, like, down. So you just go down the stairway, and then he just shuts the door, and then there's, like, it starts.
You're on a real boat.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't
Yeah.
expect that. Like,
Yeah.
you're on
It's
a
like,
boat.
you're literally on water, like, it was so cool. And then, like, the first room was, like, a steam room, kind of, and you had, like, and then the next one was, like, the captain's
Multiple
quarters.
rooms.
Yeah, it's a long boat. It was so cool. And then it was like the captain's quarters, and then like a thing opens up and you have to crawl through, and then another thing opens up and you have to crawl through that, and then in the last room, once you like get in, it starts flooding. Like water starts pouring
That
in from the
is
window, and like there's
ridiculous.
2 sets
Yeah.
of boots, so like only 2 people can walk at a time.
And the other
And
two have
so,
to
like,
sit on this ledge
Who got the
up
boots?
there.
Who got the boots?
Me and Irish Sean, I think, or was it? No, it was DC Sean.
DC Sean, yeah. And me and Irish Sean are like sitting on the thing, like,
We're not getting our
you got it, guys.
Like, and it's like it's crazy because it's like the people who are like some people, the people who are like sitting on the ledge, have to like communicate across the room,
Yeah.
and there's like an alarm blaring,
Oh
there's
my
water
goodness.
pouring, there's
It
like
must
a
feel
voice.
terrifying.
It is.
It's literally like, the funny thing is the whole time, like, you're very like, we never met these people. It could have gone like really bad. Like, we could have had like super bad communication, but it had been going really well. But the second the room starts flooding, you're like, oh my god,
Water.
Yeah.
Like even
It's
though-
real water
you probably
coming in through the
knew,
window, and we were
right?
like, "Oh, just close the window, just close the window." We go to close the window, and then and it just opens and it breaks again, and it
And it's-
starts filling.
oh
Yeah, and
my
it's like, and
goodness.
with the alarm, and like there's like the whole backstory was like being broadcasted through like a BBC radio broadcast. So like that's
cool.
going on, and
Yeah.
there's like an alarm, and we're all like screaming at each other, and we're like, turn it, like it's 4, and like it just all logic goes out the window.
Did you make it?
So
Well, okay, I would say we did.
yeah, I'd say we did too.
We basically the room started filling with water. We figured out how to turn it off, and then we had like 3 minutes left, and we had to basically use like Morse code or something, or no, like
It was like flag signals.
yeah, flag signals to say that like we needed help.
Yeah.
And we just made a like very stupid mistake where we just didn't know how to. Like we made just a stupid mistake,
Yeah.
and so basically we should have gotten out, but we didn't. But he still
Yeah.
played like the victorious music for us and
Yeah,
stuff.
okay,
But like
that's really
whatever. But yeah, no, like the scariest part of the room filling with water is because you can't hear anything. So when you ask for help, you can't hear the guy over the radio because you just have a little radio. So in all the other rooms, you can just be like, oh, can we have a hint? Can we have a
Yeah.
clue? But once you get in that room, everything is so loud that you can't hear him talk at all. You just
Oh
hear him
my
going like,
goodness.
okay, you're going to want to...
Oh, wait, like that's part of the experience too. Like it goes, okay, you're gonna.
No, like
No,
it's just,
like,
it's
you can't
just
hear
so
it.
You can't.
loud.
That's what's so
Like,
scary is because
Yeah.
you're like, wait, I can't hear you, but he's actually
Yeah.
saying it.
Like
Like,
you're and
no.
you're like screaming. Like
Yeah.
I think like at one point like I was on the radio and I was like, guys, shut up! Like I can't hear
Yeah, I
you.
bet he's heard some crazy shit. Like,
my God, it
like
was
people
so
were like, help me!
He
help
said
me."
that he said like a couple people like panic and like hit like so he told us at the beginning he was like, this is a panic button. It's like a big red button in each room. And he says, don't hit it unless somebody's actually dying because, like, by law, he has to call the fire brigade if someone hits it. And so he was like, don't do it unless you really have to. Like, and then we found out after, like, we talked to him for a while, and it's like, he has no way to, like,
shut off the water.
To shut off the water.
He has to go in the room.
You have to go in the room and actually
Yeah.
solve the puzzle for the water to shut down.
Wow.
So he was like, if people, like, because, I mean, it only fills up to, like, about the knee.
Yeah.
Just below. And so, but it like, as it's filling up, like, the second it gets to your ankles and, like, your feet are underwater.
You don't know
like,
how far it's
You're
going
like,
to
how
fill
high
up.
is this gonna go?
You're like, wow, this is genuinely very terrifying.
Like, this is real. Like, this is
yeah.
filling with water.
Because you're thinking too, like, what if the boat actually broke?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it was,
like-
it was so scary. And then, like, it was just a really cool day. Like,
Yeah, and then we just hung out with them. We walked back till, like, we all got to know each other. I mean, that's a great way to get to know
Yeah,
and it was
everyone.
really
It's a good way
funny.
to
Like,
bond.
so we all ended up like we were all like, oh, we gotta take like this bus, and we took the bus, and then like I was texting both of them, and we all ended up living within like 4 blocks of each other.
Yeah, we were all in
Like-
this north
Oh,
neighborhood
wow.
called Drumcondra in
yeah,
in
That worked
Ireland.
out pretty well.
yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And then we like saw Sean.
Yeah,
Again. We saw both of them again.
Yeah.
That night.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
which was nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then we saw our friend one more time.
Yep.
What? Oh yeah.
And then we just
And then
we were just we had such an exhausting last night
Yeah.
that like when we woke up to go to the airport and like finally go home, we just looked at each other and we were like, let's go home. Like we're
Nice.
ready for
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us on Universi-Tea.
thanks for
Of
having
course.
us.
Should we clink one more time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's clink.
And sip. You guys want to go out with some ASMR too?
Oh yeah.
Sure. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. Do you have any final remarks you want to say? Oh, okay, cool. I would just say, if you're in a club, just don't assault people. I think that's cool. I think like you're a cool person. Yeah, like if you don't do that. Anyways. Just keep your hands to yourself. Yeah. Okay, goodbye.
And that was Emmy and Kaylee.
Yeah, thank everybody for listening. We know it's been a while since we uploaded our last one, so just thank you again for still sticking around and listening. And for our next episode, we're doing Rice University in Houston, Texas.
Yes. And it's funny because originally we pre-recorded these episodes knowing the semester would be very busy so we could get some episodes out. But now it just kind of happens to be that, thank God we pre-recorded these episodes because we're all stuck inside. So we hope that they are interesting to listen to, and we'll see you next time on Universi-Tea.
Bye.
Learn how them schools be with Universi-Tea. Tea time with Kevin and Harry.